Hello and welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Cyril Vasquez.
Hello.
And what a treat. Jeff Markiafava is joining us today.
Wow.
And Kyle Hilliard.
Hey.
Welcome, everybody. We have a lot to talk about on this week's show. Cyril Vasquez, you have played Death Stranding. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was that leading the witness?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. Are you free to talk about everything? And we're not going to spoil it.
I can't right now stream the game to this video.
Okay.
And I probably shouldn't anyway spoil like the ending and stuff like
Okay,
that. But,
okay.
Please don't
That's a
spoil
take?
anything.
Yeah.
We'll also talk about Luigi's Mansion 3, Kyle Hilliard, whether you want to or not.
I like that game.
BlizzCon was interesting. We'll talk about that. Jeff Markiafava, Diablo fan number 1.
Sure.
Okay, Hong Kong fan number 1.
Hong Kong fan number 2.
That's right. Lonely Mountains Downhill. We might touch on the Smash DLC. Very exciting. And then we're going to get to some wonderful comments from people on the Patreon, patreon.com/minmax2ns. And then back after the show, of course, we get to get a load of this, which is our hot take, where we share something from the week that really stood out to us.
Our hot thought.
Hot thought. Also, a reminder as far as MinnMax cleanup duties, calendar scheduling, all that fun stuff is next week on Wednesday. We're going to be airing the second episode of our Deepest Dive Community Game Club discussion for The Outer Worlds from Obsidian. And so we're going to be talking about everything in that episode up until you land on the planet Byzantium.
It's that soon.
I know.
And you're
is
ready to record, right, Hanson?
I will be. I have this weekend now to actually play games now that Extra Life is over. But so I'll make a post probably on that Tuesday on the Patreon. And so if you support us at any level, you can leave a comment with your thoughts on the game up until landing on Byzantium. And then we're going to talk about it in a big bad way. It's going to be, some would say, the deepest dive on the internet for the middle chunk of the Outer Worlds from Obsidian.
Cornering that market on that one specific part of that game.
But I'm curious what you guys think about. I started to have a little bit of a panic of like, are we going too fast? Are we going too slow with the Outer Worlds? Because then realizing like, ooh, Jedi Fallen Order's coming up, and I really was planning on doing a deepest dive on that. We can't do two at once, can we?
Well, we can do whatever we want.
See, I thought it was going too fast when I thought we were recording the second episode this week. So I got to Byzantium in a marathon session. Yeah. I'm skipping a bunch of side quests, but I'm going to double back and get through them.
I may have done the exact same thing, although for different reasons. The one hang up with Star Wars is I'll probably be reviewing it for somebody.
I see.
So I would love to talk Star Wars. I could always come in on the last episode or just quietly sit in the corner.
And maybe it
not
won't be
spoil
a
anything.
deepest dive, but that's probably a good contender for doing a big spoiler cast.
Yeah, I'd
for a
love to.
game. Like
Yeah,
that seems like the tailor-made
I think
version
apparently
of it.
they're already out there if you're looking at trophy and achievement details.
Oh, is that
so
right?
Don't look at those, I guess.
Yeah.
Interesting. We should talk about Extra Life a little bit. All of us went back to Game Informer last weekend to raise over $60,000 for Gillette Children's Specialty Healthcare in St. Paul, Minnesota, as you reflexively do a lot during Extra Life. Hey, way to go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Way to go. It's a lot of applauding for 25 hours straight. You can watch the archive. I know Leo over at Game Informer is going to get it up sometime soon. If you want to watch Kyle almost puke after eating a giant bug.
Legitimately. Like not even, I wasn't acting or like putting on, like I was close. It was rough.
He's gonna...
I was gagging just watching Ben Reeves eat bugs.
I missed that. I need to go back and watch the archive. I don't know what I was doing, maybe getting auctions ready or something like that.
Yeah.
But it turns out it's a hectic 25 hours. And then you wake up the next day and it's like, oh, my body's sore. What? Oh, yeah, I've been screaming and leaping around for 25 hours. But you forget, like, when that adrenaline starts pumping, baby, it's nonstop. Because it's just so fun when you're at your like peak tired. You do an exciting auction, suddenly you're back to beyond wide awake. Or you're incredibly tired watching the ending of Final Fantasy VII as Joe plays it, and then all of a sudden it's like a pie donation comes in. It's like, all right, you can't be tired while somebody's chucking a pie at your face. And it's just so fun to have that momentum just constantly boosted and boosted until you're just burned out.
What if, though, as soon as he hits you with the pie, you're just knocked out immediately? Like, you just fall asleep at that exact moment, and it just looks like Joe killed you or something.
There was a lot of fun stuff. If you don't want to watch the full archive, I recommend going to Game Informer's Twitch page because you can look at the clips right now. And so people kind of made automatic highlights of all the silliest moments because there was some really dumb stuff in there. Like Reeves dressed up as a baby singing Toxic was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. It was a blast. And it was fun to have everybody back again. I talked about it a little bit in the MinFax, our stream on Monday for $20 supporters on patreon.com/MinMax2Ns. But Did you feel like we made enough of a kasha, as they say, about like the MinnMax folks going back to Game Informer, or like people that were laid off going back? I feel like it was just kind of like this under the radar. The community understands what's going on, but it wasn't really like a, hey, let's put a spotlight on, like, hey, they're back, everybody.
I think, part of it had to do with, I don't think all four of us were there at any one point, right? So there wasn't.
It was kind of like a trickling in, like, JV was there from the start and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was. I didn't know if we wanted to say too much about what we're working on. That seemed kind of like self-promotion. But as soon as I got on, like as soon as I sat down, Joe was like, "Oh, so you should tell us about MinnMax."
Oh, did he really?
Like, yeah,
it
was very sweet of it, but I was also felt super awkward. I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. You can find out about it online."
I'm in the same camp where, no one told us not to plug MinnMax or anything, but it's like, this is not about us. Like, I wouldn't want people to leave that live stream thinking that we're using this charity event to raise attention for our Patreon. But it was nice that even without saying anything explicitly, like the chat, again, on the ball, knew exactly what was going on. And every once in a while I see somebody say, "What's MinnMax?" And then someone be like, "Oh, it's this." It's like, oh, thank God. Good job, everybody.
You get a shout out in the comments and be like, that makes me feel good.
Yeah, it was really fun.
It's nice our fans are there.
Absolutely. So thanks to everybody that donated, and we raised a ton of money, and some of the most fun you can have throughout the year. And somebody donated $1,000 for me to shave my head, so there's that whole thing.
And Reeves did it really well. Like he actually did it professionally.
It was
the Corks kids, right? The Cork kids.
Yeah, somebody donated to have little baby Corks shave my head, and they were so excited about that. Like, they were so eager to get on that stream. It's just like a nice reminder of that generation, like a 7 and a 10-year-old or whatever they are. Like,
they're older than that.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Just like, okay, so the 2 and 3-year-old
under 18 kids, whatever. They all look the same to me.
But they, like, streaming and talking about games and jumping in the chat, like, that is beyond second nature. That is their first nature. Like, they were more comfortable streaming games than half of the people there, I would say. It was amazing to see.
It was weird because, like, I would go up to where Cork was, and he had his, his kids were in, like, the desks right next to him.
Sitting at your old desk,
Yeah. Well, no, it was Fava's and Kyle's, I think.
Okay.
But one of them had, like, they were playing Call of Duty, and they had, like, our stream, like, they were watching it as they were playing it while the stream was going on, like, in the room right below where he was playing, which is a strange thing to see.
And he was making a TikTok saying, "Okay, boomer," as he was playing Call of Duty.
Every time he got a kill, he'd say, "Okay, boomer."
Let's see. Should we get to the juicy stuff here? Death Stranding.
Yeah.
Charlie Vasquez, I don't want you to monologue here.
But I will.
No. I'm just fascinated. I think we can all jump in on this we talked about it last week, like the silence and the deafening silence of people playing Death Stranding but not talking about it, because the frustrating thing was behind the scenes, I was hearing a lot of people saying, F this game effing sucks, don't do it as a game club. And so I thought it was going to be a disaster. And then, maybe I just talked to Dan Reichert too much. Who then
that's the baseline core of a lot of your personal problems.
Is that right?
Issues, I think.
I never thought of it that way.
Love Dan Reichert.
But then it's amazing because it's at an 84 in Metacritic, and it seems like there are those people for sure that love it, mixed in with people just flabbergasted, thinking, "What the hell is this thing?"
I mean, it feels divisive for a game. Which is weird to see, like a major budget game, because like the lowest score that I saw was from a major outlet was like a 6.8 from IGN.
Okay.
And then I saw I don't think any like major outlet gave it a 10, but I saw several 9s.
GameSpot gave it a 9. Mike Mahardy over there,
I believe it was Callie.
Exactly.
That's right. Mike, who also goes by Callie.
Again, too much time with Dan Reichert.
But yeah, I gave it an 8, which is it feels like it's a good encapsulation of where I'm at with it.
And where's your review at, by the way?
Fanbyte.com. You can find it there. Also have like a tips guide going up pretty soon about both of those, spoiler free, by the way, in case you're wondering. But it's a game of real highs and lows for me, and not just because you're climbing mountains and stuff. But I think it's weird. I think my major takeaway is that I love the core mechanic of it, which is just like walking from point A to point B, which is interesting.
Because of the scenery, or what's?
No, because like they gamify hiking in a really interesting way. So as you're walking, you're carrying all this cargo. You're constantly having to hold the triggers down to make sure you don't cascade one way or the other.
So as you're walking for the 60 hours of this game or whatever, you're holding on the trigger.
It depends on how much.
Time?
Well, like I said, it depends on a number of things. So if you're holding a ton of, if you're holding like 100 kilograms of cargo and you have no way to support that, you're going to be like feeling like you would if you were carrying 100 kilograms of cargo. And I'm saying kilograms because that's how they measure it. But you can get things like power skeletons, which like make it so you can carry more cargo. And if that's the case, then you can just run however you want. But there's things like walking uphill might force you to like move more slowly and hold the triggers down. If you're going downhill, like the way that you gain momentum as you're walking downhill, exactly. That's exactly what you do. And so you can either like hold the buttons down and just slow down, or what I did, or I don't know if this is a trick or intentional, was that you can feather the triggers every once in a while to kind of leverage yourself but not slow down. So you can kind of leverage it, but if you mess up you'll trip and fall over and your cargo will scatter everywhere. And they have a lot of tools that you can use. So you can set down ladders, you can set down climbing anchors. You have like a little tray that you get later on that's like a hover cart that you can just load a cargo onto, and that stuff gamifies the idea of like I'm delivering something to another place. You can get motorcycles, things like that.
Yeah. Okay. So Jeff, I'll let you be a barrier and I won't look at Serial and you tell me if this is a spoiler. I don't believe it is. But, no, I think we're good here. We're good. Trust me. I want to ask Serial, you tell me if it's okay. If on a scale of 1 to 10, where this game lands as far as surprises. Like if I've been following the pre-release coverage, do I understand what this game is? Can you ask Serial that, please?
What he just said.
Yeah, I think you do have a pretty good idea of what the game is.
So on the scale, it's like a 3?
I mean, it depends on what you mean by surprises. Like, if there are some twists in the story. Okay. But in terms of like, I didn't know the game was going to be like this. Yes. There's not a whole lot of that.
Interesting.
So we're done with, I don't know what Death Stranding's about. It's so mysterious, right? And not even beyond just like the fact that the game is out, like after everyone plays it, is that idea going to
I don't think it's as mystifying as the marketing made it out to be.
Yeah, that's
so you know what it's about. You understood the plot?
Well, it's about Brexit, right?
I think part of what makes it so mystifying is that Kojima does play with a lot of like evocative imagery, and that's like one of my like favorite parts about it is that there's just a lot of really good cinematography here that you can. I'm excited to see the breakdown of like, here's what this symbol, like when this shot was showing this way, it's a reference to this thing and it symbolizes this. There will be a lot of that, but I think
it symbolizes that Kojima watched that movie recently.
Yeah, exactly. I think it does struggle with a lot of the stuff that kind of made Metal Gear kind of hard to follow, and it suffers more so than Metal Gear, because with Metal Gear, I think one of the cool things about it was that like it was very silly, and you see all these ad hoc like concepts kind of come in, and it felt like you were writing along with him because he was kind of making it up as he went, sort of like a TV show, right? But there was always this kind of feeling of, well, what would he do if he could start fresh? And I mean, my takeaway was that he'd basically do the same thing of just introduce a lot of proprietary words for things that you already know. Like he uses like different terms for body and soul that are like a reference to like Egyptian culture, but everyone just uses that instead of whatever. There's a lot of like new terminology that you have to learn in order just to follow conversations.
You summarize Kojima, I feel like, perfectly in proprietary words for things you already know. Yeah. It's like, that is Kojima 101. Like,
so it feels like I feel like they're doing it to make the story sound more intricate than it is, because it's not.
Right.
But I don't want to go.
It's just, hey, you're hiking here, you're trying to reconnect the United States.
It's what they told you. You are Sam Bridges, son of Bridget Bridges, and you're trying to connect the United Cities of America after the United States was destroyed by the Death Stranding.
Right.
And you're trying to use that by connecting everyone to the chiral network, which is just Wi-Fi. From the East Coast to the West Coast.
So do you remember there was a moment where, was it a PSX? I forget what it was, but Mark Cerny, who's a producer on this game, also system architect for PS4, all that fun stuff, goes back to Crash and Spyro, obviously Marble Madness. Mark Cerny, everybody. But so he's a producer on Death Stranding, and I remember he introduced a trailer or had like an interview with Kojima, and at some point he's like, I know these trailers are confusing, but I mean, I've played the game and it makes complete sense, everybody. And so that is the overall takeaway of like, even you go back to the original trailer and it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
it's weird stuff, but it's not like, what is this?
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, it's not like a super like straightforward plot, but it doesn't feel like, oh, okay, there's all these, here's all these different layers to it, and it doesn't feel abstract or anything like that.
Is the world cool?
I like it. It feels like a very different game from a lot of AAA open world games now, because combat is like for most of my time in the first area, I didn't really see a whole lot of combat. Like I didn't really fire a gun until like several hours in, which was kind of cool to see. And except for a couple of sections where they kind of force you don't really have to use guns at all. And I think besides that, I think the best way to imagine this game is like Metal Gear Solid 5, I think, is a pretty good starting point for what this game is. But it does build on that in some interesting ways. I think one of my favorite parts about it is they kind of gloss over it in a lot of the marketing, but the fact that other people might be able to leave behind ladders and stuff for you to talk, like that is a major part of this game. So the chiral network is like a combination of Wi-Fi and kind of like a 3D printing network. So like when you have this item that lets you manufacture things, like here's a bridge that lets you cross this river, but you'll see someone else's like when you're in sort of when you have Wi-Fi, basically you can see other people's objects. And so like if you're walking past an area, you might see, oh, here's a bridge that I can use that someone else laid down. And so your first because you are connecting everyone to the chiral network, they don't have Wi-Fi. So your first excursion into a new outpost will be kind of like very isolated, very like the rugged mountaineer. But as soon as you connect it to Wi-Fi, you'll see all these objects that'll help you back down, basically.
Then it's just Jeff Keighley, Conan Palooza, everyone's there. It's a big old party on Wi-Fi.
I think Edgar Wright is in the game too, actually.
The director of the Metal Gear Solid movie, I think, is in it as well.
Oh, Jordan Vogt Robert?
Yeah.
You mean the movie that'll never happen?
Yeah. That movie that is, So I think that part is really cool because it does allow you to establish like this really strong narrative that also ties into the story, where it's like, oh, you need other people's help to get through this. Like there is adversity here, and you are trying to connect people again. And that stuff happens when you see like, hey, here's this guy that I've been following the entire time, and he's always been one step ahead of me, but he's been laying down some really good areas. Yeah. And you can do some of that stuff on your own. Like one of my favorite moments in a game this year was like this totally systemic thing where I was climbing this like snow-capped mountain, and it was like one of the toughest excursions I had.
Meaning balancing?
Yeah, so like you're going up snow in a snow, and it's like just complete whiteout. You can't see in front of you basically more than a few feet. And so once I connected that outpost, I saw like 2 zip lines. And they were like, zip lines are really strong in this game because they're like the fastest way you can move, but you have to have both of them set up, like both ends of them. Like someone has to build both ends.
Sure.
But these particular zip lines were too far away to actually work. And the way it works is that you can like something and someone else has left behind, and that like is like an experience system that lets you basically like it makes the game easier if you have a lot of likes.
Sure. Like life.
Yeah, and so that was a thing, and so both of those outposts had a lot of likes, but I had a thing that could make a zip line, and I basically made it knowing that I would never use it. It would like no one would ever like it because in order to like my zip line, they would have to get to my point in the zip line, get off of my zip line, like my zip line, get back on it, and then keep going. So it was like this thing that cost me resources and stuff, and it was kind of thankless, but I felt like, there was this part of me that was like, I am paying it forward because, these people have left me bridges, have left me ladders and stuff. And so I am doing my part to help people out. And I hope that people, benefit from it. And it's like, there's a strong sense of like, it can be selfish, like I want this ladder to get a lot of likes because I thought of a good location. And then I planted a bridge thinking like, this is like a major way to cross this canyon. And then I ran, several like feet the other way. And there was like another bridge at someone else that had like 60,000 likes. And I was like, well, great. Now I'm screwed.
Yeah.
But I think that social element is such a major component of that game. And that was like one of my favorite like core parts about it.
How many hours did it take before it feels like it clicked? Because I hear that like, oh, play 10 hours and then you'll get in the groove of this weird thing.
I think that'll vary between people because I think for me it clicked pretty quickly because I remember when we watched that first trailer where it was like, oh, like when everyone was coming around to the conclusion that oh, is this game just a game where you're just delivering stuff?
Right.
Like in The Office, it seemed people were pretty dismissive about it.
I'm into it.
Yeah, and I was like one of those people who's like, that sounds pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like that there's not a whole lot of combat. If anything, I think the shooting, the actual like combat part, I think is the worst part of it. And I think the sections where you're forced to do it are like the game's worst parts for me, which sucks because like they're some of the most pivotal plot points.
Just mechanically, it feels bad.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to it. It's like it doesn't feel bad. It's just like the gameplay basically comprises of you throwing grenades made up of your bodily fluids and shooting bullets that are made with your blood, basically, if you want.
Don't shake your head derisively, Jeff Marchiafava.
Well, you said it's not like abstract or anything, and like you totally understand everything that's going on, and then it's like, yeah, bodily fluid grenades.
Yeah, I mean, they'll
bullets
explain that, like basically, Sam has his body is special or whatever. And then the way you get those grenades is by using the bathroom all the time, and then they'll give you these little vials that you can throw.
All right, everybody. Jeff, are you going to play this game?
I'll check it out.
Really?
Sure.
You love Metal Gear Solid 5, right?
No.
Mm-hmm.
It was my favorite one though.
Okay.
Like I think the format, the story is very weird and everything like that. That's fine, but the actual core gameplay, was open world stealthy stuff, which I liked.
Yeah.
So I don't like hate Kojima or anything like that. I think the games just don't click as much for me, but I'm always willing to try out something that's a little weird or off the beaten path.
Somebody wrote in on the Patreon and asked, hey, I don't mind a slow game. I like the slow burn of Red Dead Redemption 2. Is that the flavor of person that will maybe appreciate Death Stranding?
I mean, it definitely feels a lot more like arcadey, for as much as I say like, oh, there's all these different elements to climbing, like those hover carts that I mentioned earlier. You can ride on top of them and like slide down mountains like a skateboard, or like snowboard. It's like there's a lot of gaminess to it. So it's not like a thing where you're like your default walk speed is super slow. It's just that like what you're doing is climbing things in a way that like most games you just kind of like sprint past or like press the jump button and you press the jump button twice and you're over like most of a mountain already.
Yeah.
So that stuff makes you work for it. And I think when you like there are really cool moments when you finally get to the top of that mountain, for example, like that snowy mountain, and you see like this huge vista, you feel like you earned that view more than in most games.
Yeah.
And one other thing I do want to point out is that as much as I don't like combat, I think they do iterate on stealth in an interesting way, where it kind of feels backwards. Where before in Metal Gear Solid 5, you would camp out an area and see like, here are all the guys. I'm going to go in and follow my game plan. Whereas here, all the BTs are basically invisible.
These are the monster ghosty things.
So you're kind of working with very limited information, and and you know how like in Metal Gear you'd have the thing where it's like, oh, I'm just kind of looking at the radar. That's basically what you do here, but they integrate it into the world because the little like flowery thing that you saw in the trailer, that's the thing that's constantly letting you know there's a BT close by. Like you're basically watching that thing constantly to make sure that you're not getting killed. Yeah, and I think that stuff is really good. But the story didn't really click for me overall. I think it's actually surprisingly well acted. I think Norman Reedus and like most of that celebrity cast, I think do a really good job. Guillermo del Toro's character is maybe the weakest one, but it's because they use a sound alike.
So is it just jarring because you expect to hear del Toro's voice
but also like he does a lot of exposition. He does a lot of like here's how this works and here's how this works.
Yeah, that one cutscene that really seemed dumb.
Yeah, and there's like I don't know if it's the same one, but it's like there's a cutscene later on where that feels like he makes his character feel kind of like unintentionally creepy. But yeah, for the most part, I think the celebrities do a really good job. But I think
way to go.
The overall plot of like I'm the bad guy, I'm gonna do a bad guy thing, like that stuff isn't super interesting. But there's some themes in there that I was like, okay, this is really cool. Like the idea of like this world is kind of messed up, and like how they kind of resolve that issue in the long term, I think is actually works out really well. But there's a lot of plot points where you're like, this is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But
what this thing's long as hell.
Yeah, so it depends on how much time you spend with side activities, which is just actually a thing that kind of weighted down for me a little bit, because the good parts of this game are climbing a new mountain, and they eventually have you making deliveries to the same areas, going down the same paths over and over again. And I think that makes the game more exhausting than it would in other games where it's like, oh, the combat's really good, but it's like you're just doing the same encounter, with like a mountain basically over and over again. That kind of, tears away at a lot of like the grandeur of like, oh, I got to climb this mountain again.
Yeah.
So like in that first area, I would suggest like it's a real hinterland situation where you can get stuck doing a lot of quests if you're like the kind of obsessive like I got to do everything here. You could be.
We don't like those kinds of people here at MinnMax.
You can end up spending so much time there that you kind of get really frustrated with the basic systems. So I would just encourage you to just take the optimal path, do a few side missions if you need them, and then move on. Because the one thing I will say is that a lot of your resources won't carry over long term without spoiling too much. So don't worry too much about amassing a ton of resources in any one area.
Kyle, predict right now where this game will land on your top 10 list for 2019.
6.
It's gonna be number 6.
The sort of divisive nature of the reviews, like I haven't read any reviews, but seeing the scores and stuff like makes me weirdly more excited about it.
Is there a reason you haven't read reviews?
Because I don't want to know anything about the game until I play it. Today I've learned more about the game than I intended.
Okay.
So thanks a lot,
I apologize.
It's okay.
No, I'm in the same game. I wanted to kind of go in somewhat fresh with you for this conversation. So I hear that Dan Reichert lost his mind on the Beastcast. Like I haven't listened to that yet.
Yeah.
But I'm still super excited. I cannot wait for Friday.
That specifically kind of bothered me a little bit because I was trying to go in blind and like to have my form my own impressions. And he was like he thought he was very sly about it. I'm like I'm going to talk around.
Oh, this. Before he really
people were talking about the
impressions. What was he saying?
Because he was talking about Red Dead and it's like I guess I could see now like basically part of he was talking about like I guess maybe I was wrong about Red Dead or whatever. That I understood it as to be a slight against Death Stranding. It was like okay, Dan doesn't like it. That when he was talking
he said something like I thought Red Dead was slow, like something like that.
Basic something to that effect, right?
Okay, Dan.
But whatever, it's fine. Dan's a great guy, but
we all love
Dan's a great guy, but is actually going to be on his tombstone.
But that was a thing.
Yeah.
But I like it a lot. I think I have my caveats with it, but I think it has a pretty good chance of being on my top 10. I haven't really gotten around to making it, but it'll probably be on there.
Yeah. Kyle Hilliard, let's go from spooky to spookier. Luigi's Mansion 3. We streamed the first hour and a half in the Great Goaty Hunt on Tuesday. Yeah, we got it. But you've been playing and also watching your family play a lot, kind of absorbing Luigi's Mansion.
Mostly watching,
sucking it
ultimately.
in.
Yes.
Yeah, my wife and child played through it like in one marathon session, and I watched them play most of it, and then would step in and play occasionally. Like when the boss fights are particularly frustrating.
Oh, really?
So I would like help out with the boss fights.
Hard or just annoying?
I mean, they can be hard. I think the thing that makes them feel so much harder is like the rest of the game is pretty breezy.
Yeah,
which is good. Like it's a good thing about that game is that it's a really good co-op game. It's a really good game for playing with a kid. And then like
because one person's Luigi.
Yeah, Luigi is basically like invincible and genuinely helpful. Which is like the nice bonus, because there's a lot of times when you're playing like co-op with a kid where like the bonus character won't really serve a purpose and they're just getting in the way. But Luigi is helpful and dying like doesn't matter, which makes it good. So then like when most of the game is breezy and fun and puzzle solving and just fantastic animation and stuff like that, when the boss fights do ramp up the difficulty a little bit, it is kind of like, oh wait, where's this coming from?
Yeah. But do you think it's the best Luigi's Mansion?
So I'm not a big like Luigi's Mansion expert. Like I have only dabbled in 1 and 2.
What the hell?
I don't know, does that surprise you? But I really like
dabbler.
I really like what I played and saw of 3 to the point where like even though I saw the full game, I saw the end boss and everything.
Yeah,
I want to go back and just play it on my own, at least for a while, just because I love the thing that I love about it so much is just the animation is so freaking charming.
Yeah,
like everything Luigi does is just like funny and fun. And like the way all the different ghosts you can find and stuff all like are weird and move in strange ways.
It's just fun to see Nintendo, next level games, but Nintendo just be so creative with creating new character designs and stuff. We were talking about a little bit on the stream.
Yeah,
of just
how you still hate Toads, right?
Yeah, and there's just like, they're in the game, but the fact that it's just, here's some new creativity. It's not just recycling these characters over and over and over again.
Yeah, but it's just silly, and it's like that fun kind of creepy, like that. It's like eerie, I guess you could. I don't know how to describe it. It's not scary. It's not a scary game, but it's a spooky game. I don't know. It's weird. You're giving me this weird look.
Well, I think you need to think about your words a little bit more.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, what do you mean?
I like.
Are you scared? Have you ever had a little bit of a jump, or just like it's fun to see cartoon scary?
I think I like cartoon scary. Like I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of like spooky children's entertainment, like movies like Coraline or like Paranorman or something like that. It's like a good barometer of like creepy but still fun. Like I like that kind of stuff. Like I've always liked that kind of stuff, and Luigi's Mansion is all about that.
Yeah. Yeah, we were laughing on the stream. It is endlessly funny to me how scared Luigi is of everything all the time. 3 games in, he's still petrified of everything. And there's something so simple and funny about that idea of this guy just being the world's biggest coward.
I think it's just because he's alone. Like, he's not usually alone, right?
But even in the beginning, he's still scared.
Lobby.
Yeah, he's just entering this hotel,
a donut
which is pristine.
falls off a table and he's freaking out.
He's doing his weird stiff Luigi
Guys,
move.
he's got an anxiety problem, and you guys are making light of this?
I think it's
We love
hilarious. Yeah, we hope it gets worse.
Can't wait for the sequel.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, Metacritic currently higher than Death Stranding, I think. Mike Drucker was tweeting
Hell
about that,
yeah.
which made me laugh really hard. It's like 86 and Death Stranding is 84, which
Well, the
is
reason
funny.
it's funny is because in the tweet from Mike Drucker, he had the Luigi death stare, passing by in Mario Kart, which is a very good move.
But yeah, I like what I played, and it's weird. I wonder if that's going to be like in the same way Fire Emblem is now a major Nintendo franchise. Like Luigi's Mansion has always been kind of this tertiary, secondary franchise that people like, but is not like one that people are super excited about. But it seems like the Switch version of just tons of screenshots and memes all over the internet. I bet it's selling pretty well.
Oh, I bet so. Like Dark Moon sold really, really well on 3DS. It's one of the high-selling 3DS games, and I'm sure nobody in the world bought the remake of the first game on 3DS.
I did actually.
Did you really?
After the kid enjoyed 3 so much, we went and got the 3DS one.
In the year of our Lord, 2019, you're going to go back and make your wonderful daughter play a 3DS game like a monster?
She put it down very quickly and said it feels old.
Really?
Yeah.
Ouch.
That'll teach you. Buying gifts, you goon. I'm so fascinated thinking about next level games in general. They're up there in Vancouver, I believe. But like in the age of first parties buying up studios, trying to acquire as much talent as possible, I went back because I was confused about this. But in 2014, Next Level Games just gave interviews where they said like, yeah, we're still independent, but we're just always going to work with Nintendo. It's like this weird deal where basically Nintendo owns them, has all the advantages of having this really talented studio crank out these games. Like, they did Punch Out on Wii, stuff like that, like the Mario Strikers soccer games and whatnot. But just, I love the idea. It was like, it's an unstable industry. We have a lot of talented developers here, and Nintendo's stable, so we'll just keep working with them. And Nintendo's like, yeah, have at it. Have all these franchises.
Nintendo they do not buy studios, right? They're just not interested in that sort of business model, right?
Well, I wonder what the history of Retro is.
Do they own Retro?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure they own
that's
Retro.
One of the few, right? Everyone else is just contracted out for specific projects.
Right.
It's weird.
Yeah, but this way it just works out for everybody. And I was going back and looking at quotes. This is from a Gamasutra article. And Jason Carr, one of the co-founders, just says, "We are doing only Nintendo products now. We've worked with a lot of other companies before. Like, remember they made that Captain America game?
People liked that game.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. It was just basically Marvel's take on Arkham Asylum, but 7.5-ish. And we're super happy with our relationship with Nintendo. There's no reason to look anywhere else. They keep giving us better and better IP to work with, and as long as we do our job and make good games for them, there's no reason for us to venture out." And then he also said, I like this one, he says, Miyamoto always asks us, is the team having fun? Are they having fun making the game? It's really important that the team's enjoying themselves there because they feel, and I agree, that if you're miserable, it'll follow suit in your job. How are you supposed to make an engaging Nintendo game that's actually fun if the studio isn't having fun? Just the idea of Nintendo or Miyamoto calling them up every once in a while, like, I know you guys are probably crunching your asses off making Luigi frightened animations, but like, you're having a good time, right? Okay, cool. We don't need to actually buy you yet? Okay, click.
And they're reacting like Luigi on the other line, like, oh, Miyamoto's calling.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you got to look at Captain America. I bet that deadline was insane, right?
Oh, because the movie.
Hit that movie, and then I
bet working with Marvel. Sick.
Yep, and I assume that Nintendo is probably is at least better about deadlines, right? Because I just think that in general, it seems like they want games to take as much time as they need.
Yeah, I remember it took forever for them to release the release date for Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yeah,
but in a way, it's almost a Captain America situation where it's like they got to release it on Halloween.
Yeah,
what are you going to release this December 12th? Come on, get out of town. Next level.
They released it on a Thursday, which is smart, and I don't know why more spooky games wouldn't come out on like a strange day to coincide with a holiday. But it's rare that you see a game not come out on a Friday or Tuesday.
Yeah, especially Nintendo games. Seems like Friday is the default there.
Or Sundays. Sundays is the other day they come out.
It reminded me about Monster games. Like they co-developed Tropical Freeze. And then they also
Excite Trucks.
Yep, Excite Bots, all that stuff. And then they also did the 3DS port of Xenoblade. And they're in Minnesota. they're in Northfield, Minnesota, and they haven't released a Nintendo game since the Xenoblade 3DS port. They've been making NASCAR Heat 1 through 18 or whatever. So I wonder if they're cooking up something big with Nintendo, or Nintendo's cooling on them in general, because it's been 4 years. Maybe they're helping out with Retro, since they were kind of simpatico with Retro, and so as Retro theoretically has been through development hell trying to work on that new IP, or there was the rumor of the Star Fox Racing game. Maybe they've just been like locked in step with that.
Yeah, I mean that seems like what they should be working on, right? If that Star Fox Racing game does exist, like
that's
it seems
their
like
jam.
They would have been the ones behind it. Right?
Yeah, you're right, or at least co-developing it at least. Jeff, can you go to Northfield, Minnesota, and do that cool petition move where you scream outside?
I mean, it's funny if you go to their website, because like
it's so bad.
You would like. Recently and in the past, like I've always been, I want to talk to them, see what they're working, and it's like I don't think they even have like a contact form on their website.
You go to their website, and it's like, no, I'm not talking to these guys.
It's just like an Excel doc of like, here are the games we've made.
MinnMax.com is better than Monster Games'
no
website.
Joke, for real, yeah. And I mean that works for them. They're doing fine. They don't need a great front-facing website, but it's odd that it's like, oh, you guys are kind of unreachable, even though I could probably drive to your office.
But maybe it's like, we got those Nintendo contracts or NASCAR. Like those are two pretty stable things. We'll just,
why take time to update our website?
Honestly, when they're not like hustling, why not? I did reach out to them at Game Informer, and they said like, we don't talk to the outside world. So it's going to take us going over there. Yeah, exactly.
I think Kato went there a couple times.
He did to learn about NASCAR. And of course, I begged him for info, and he said, it's just an office. It's like, but it's an office where they ported Xenoblade. It's huge. But I don't think Kato's tickled by a port of Xenoblade to the 3DS. Hey, speaking of standing outside and protesting, hey, BlizzCon.
Yay!
BlizzCon happened on Friday. A big opening ceremony. What was your guys' reaction? Let me tip my hand. It seemed like everyone was preparing for a big ol' S show and a lot of protests. And then, like, I even saw the story, but like protesters starting to gather outside BlizzCon because of the whole Hong Kong thing. And then it didn't amount to much. And now the internet's just like, woohoo, Blizzard 4, Overwatch 2. It does feel like a lot of the BS Blizzard has just gotten away with. And somebody wrote in asking, like, what do you do? What do you do in this situation when a company like Blizzard clearly kowtows to China, and then, hey, turns out not many people care. The internet has a shorter attention span than you think.
Yeah, and when you show up with the goods of, the games that people are waiting for, it's like everybody acquiesces to stuff.
I feel like the new attitude is like, well, we shouldn't diminish what those people have been working on.
Which is true. And that's
true.
what I deal with. Yeah. It's a tough time because it's like, there's a lot of incredibly talented designers that are busting their ass making Blizzard 4 and making really smart design decisions, and they're still one of, if not the best developer out there.
Yeah, and they had nothing to do with, whatever decisions led to BlizzCon getting.
But I do hope that it's not forgotten. You know what I mean? Like, it sucks what happened.
But I think maybe it'll just be relegated to, you'll see a couple comments on every YouTube video or every article just about like, F you, Blizzard. That's
while they're laughing to the bank.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that I saw shared a lot was a lot of people being like, hey, can I recover my Overwatch account that I deleted?
Really?
In protest? Is there any way to get back my stuff after deleting my account? It's like, oh, man.
Yeah, it's hard not. It's a little frustrating just because their apology at the show itself was like very like non-committal of like, hey, guys, we will vaguely acknowledge that there was some negative sentiment and we could have done better. Okay, thanks everybody. Enjoy the show. Like,
but even then, like people lapped it up. Yeah. So Jalen Brack just got out there and he said, "Hey, you know what? Maybe we reacted too quickly. We didn't do right by the community. Hey, get ready for some games." And everyone's like, good apology.
It was like the kind of
vague. He's not saying anything.
It was so vague. They didn't announce like, hey, look, besides the thing that we've already done, we're not going to, we're not going to announce a new policy change. We're not going to apologize, really. We're just going to say like, hey, some bad things may have happened. Who knows who could have been responsible?
There's no way of knowing.
Yeah, there's no way of knowing. Like, they didn't like prescribe anything of like, hey, moving forward, we're going to like make sure that people can speak their minds. And like, like they just kind of had a lot of like, yeah, we at Blizzard value, like we value expression and things like that without really any force behind it to really reinforce anything that they might say to support that. So it was frustrating for that weekend for sure.
But what are you going to do? I mean, if you're in the crowd, you can go, boo. And then it's just like, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to hold these people accountable? By the way, it was Acorn Gaming that wrote in just saying, like, how do you combat this? How do you combat somebody getting away with this?
Imran Khan, formerly of Game Informer, wrote a thing while he was at Game Informer about like the THQ scandal.
That's right. That's a great example.
And how like his larger point was like, you know, he took them to task for it for like hosting an AMA on 8chan, but his larger point was like we need to continue holding these companies accountable for that kind of stuff because, you know, people do have short-term memories. Like they do forget, and everyone just kind of seems to quietly acknowledge it as like, hey, you know, they'll add it at the end of like a news story or something. Like recently, this company was involved in whatever.
You might remember the name Blizzard from such news stories.
And then that'll be the end of it. And like that has stuck with me. But I am, again, not sure, like, besides continuing to voice dissent in that form, I think, of saying like, hey, you know, Blizzard did this thing and it's kind of messed up that they did that. It's hard to like. I don't want to like outright say like, hey, it is morally irresponsible to not play Blizzard games or something because like I don't know that that's necessarily the right answer. But you know, I think as long as I think that we continue to make them aware that part of us is disappointed in them about that. I would hope that it's not something where by the end of the year they're going to announce, hey, like we solved the problem. I think it's more of a long-term thing of like making sure that is always that. I would hope that they learn from this going forward, and then we continue to make sure that they do know that, you know, people are disappointed in them about that,
or that they're at least watching them. Yeah, right? That they will have another blow up if they pull some S again. But I mean, what could they do? I mean, even in future interviews with Jalen Brack or anybody at Blizzard, if somebody in the press brings that up, like, what the hell was all that? They go, no, we released a statement. Did you see the statement? It said that this had that the Chinese government had no bearing on these decisions.
Which is a great message of like, well, don't worry, fans. Like our decision to speak out against freedom of speech and democracy was all coming from us.
Right.
You know, like China didn't
even need to proceed. We bowed immediately. So I think it is. If you are kind of like a frustrated consumer in that sense, I think it is important to continue voicing your dissenting however you can. And I think it's up to us for people like us to continue to bring this stuff up and make sure that, you know, people are aware of it. And hopefully, like the hope is that in the long term, you know, people inside of Blizzard kind of take the message to heart, people who matter, and like, you know, going forward, it's a thing where it's like, look, we need to approach, you know, whatever this next situation is more carefully, having learned from what happened before. And so I think the best you can do is to just make sure that Blizzard is aware of, you know, what you feel.
And clearly it's a learning computer as a company overall, because did not mention Diablo Immortal this year. It's like, all right, took our licks, and now this year, let's move on and actually announce some big things, even if, as they say, all these games are a long ways away.
Yeah, and I think that the voicing dissent goes farther. Like, people always say, oh, speak with your wallet. And it's like, I think voicing the dissent is better in these kind of situations, because all those games, Diablo IV, which isn't going to come out for years anyway, you know, like those games are all going to make money. And I think it would be hard for any company to point and say, oh, well, this game didn't make as much money because of that China thing that we ran into, you know, 3 years ago or whatever. Like speaking out and saying, hey, I'm a Blizzard fan, I'm really disappointed in this, is going to do more. And it also gives the people in the company more leeway to say, hey, this crap is blowing up. We were against it too. Like, we can speak more truth to power about these kind of things than just saying, I'm not going to buy this game, which you totally are anyway. And you saw that in the fan reaction of like, yeah, we're mad about these things, but we still are really excited about Diablo or Overwatch or whatever.
If I were a disgruntled employee who wanted to bring a complaint like, hey, look, we need to be better about this, I think it would help me more to say, like, here are direct complaints that I saw on Twitter and like the hashtag or whatever was blowing up, versus like, we only made like $63 million versus like $64 million or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Like that
especially
that
when
is
you
a
turn
much more
around
direct
and
form of
then
feedback.
just point to the revenue that you're getting from the Chinese market, you know. It's like, it's not, voting with your wallet isn't going to work in that kind of situation. Like, just tell them that you're disappointed.
Yeah.
And
Frequent and consistent reminders.
yes.
Yeah.
And when it blows up on social media like it does, that's what gets a response, and that's what at least gets them to turn around and say, okay, we're giving the tournament money back, or we're lessening the ban. And
again, I'm not saying like you go out and protest every day for at Blizzard's campus until you die. Like it's more about
no, we're saying that.
It's more about like letting that kind of disappointment simmer and not forgetting about it. Of just like every once in a while, just be like being aware that did happen.
5 years from now, if somebody brings it up, I think it's going to be don't you think it's going to be that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's what people, especially now, like that things move so quickly that of course people are going to forget. It's just like, you got to do your best effort, right?
Right.
It's not. I'm not saying like everyone will remember this 10 years from now.
Yeah.
But it's do what you can.
And I think it's tricky, being so emotionally attached to Game Informer and the folks at Game Informer. Like, I've been watching those comments so carefully to see like how much flag is Game Informer
for the
getting.
cover reveal?
Well, as Resetter pointed out, that it's funny that the Game Informer cover says the Blizzard issue. We're like, it's a Blizzard issue, all right. Like, they got an issue. But there's a couple comments, but it's not as overwhelming as I expected. It's just a lot of shut up during gameplay, I'm trying to watch Diablo 4. It's just like the standard comments, right? And it's like, okay.
Yeah. And if you want them to shut up during gameplay, just let them know.
Frequent and consistent reminders.
That's right. You can turn that off at any point. Okay, seriously though, how about that Diablo 4? Jeff, we should talk about it, right?
Yeah.
You're a big Diablo fan.
Yeah.
Did you see anything that tickled your fancy?
It's the kind of thing where it's like, I played Diablo 3 so many hours, and when I just heard that Diablo 4 was announced, it's like, what are they going to do? Like, the game Diablo 3 looks great. How are you going to make more impressive visuals for that? And then I watched the gameplay and I was like, oh, okay, that's...
Does it really stand out? I watched it and I was like, I'm not disappointed in it, but it's like, it's about right. And I think it's an interesting angle to say, we're going to go back a little bit to Diablo 2, which, by the way, I was at Blizzard last year before BlizzCon, and like, that was absolutely their messaging for Diablo Immortal as well, was we're pulling from Diablo 2. So it's weird now for Diablo 4 to be like, but bits of the same messaging from Immortal. It's
like
odd.
Speaking of them reacting to feedback, it definitely feels like a counterpoint to people complaining about Diablo 3 being too colorful. And things
again, I heard that crap like when they first revealed Diablo 3, which was so long ago. Like now, it was like a very specific Blizzard fan that was like, F this, I want a darker Diablo. But apparently they're out there and they messaged that and that audience picked it up. But that reveal trailer, it's like, I'm not really into the darker tone in general. I don't like spooky things other than Luigi's Mansion.
That's your threshold for spooky? Like any scarier in a mouth.
That's right. But that image of like the blood forming that cape, like that lady, the Lady Diablo came out of, that is some of the coolest just concepts I've seen in a reveal trailer. Just it looks so gross. Just having like a blood membrane. Oh, it's
it looks like it's made out of skin or something. Yeah, like that Diablo, like that 10-minute Diablo 3 trailer or Diablo 4 trailer is like one of my favorite movies of the year. Like it is so well done, and like it speaks to such a like strong tone for that. I'm curious to see if the game matches up to that at all. Right, because it's in that vein of like really highly produced trailers.
Well, it's weird that even in the gameplay, then you can check it out on Game Informer's YouTube channel. That like they have cutscenes in the gameplay, like in transitions when you're going from one place to the other, it'll just cut to like this good-looking cutscene with your character, which is like, oh, that's pretty wild. And I think that's some legacy from earlier versions of Diablo 4, which was codenamed Hades, I believe. Like Jason Schreier at Kotaku wrote an article about a year ago just talking about the troubled development of Diablo 4 in general and how many times it was getting rebooted, and they scrapped an expansion to another expansion to Diablo 3, and then the lead designer left at a certain point. But they were experimenting back then even with creating a Diablo 4 that was like a Dark Souls third-person perspective, like behind the shoulder. And even as of last year, apparently there was still mixed reporting on what camera perspective they were going to go for Diablo 4. And then you see it, and it's like, okay, it's the standard Diablo, but maybe with some more cutscenes, maybe they'll move the camera in every once in a while.
Yeah, and in a better level of detail to where if they do zoom in on stuff, it looks really good.
Yeah, for sure.
Which wasn't always the case with Diablo 3.
I almost wonder if it's not like a Borderlands situation where they were kind of afraid of like, how do we one up Diablo 3? And then the answer is just like, you just wait long enough, people will just want the thing that you gave them before again. And
for
then,
sure.
You know, and obviously the art style is different, but I imagine this won't be like some crazy reinvention of the formula, you know?
Well, just, again, not even going back to Diablo 3, but just pulling from Diablo 2 again. Then it's like, oh, even longer of a wait. I'm so on board for this. It's been 20 years. The director, Luis Barriga, he has old Activision roots, like some of the bad Crash Bandicoot games and stuff. But also, he was the lead
bad Crash Bandicoot?
Yeah. But he's also lead designer for your precious Spider-Man 2, Kyle.
Oh.
Isn't that exciting?
One of the best games ever. I don't know if I'm ready to say that, but I love that game.
That's fine. Focusing on PvP, stuff like that for Diablo 4. It's weird noting the shift at BlizzCon and Blizzard audiences overall, because this would have been a hullabaloo just 4 years ago, maybe, but them announcing that it's launching the same time on consoles as the PC version, and the crowd was like, woo! It's like, oh boy. Like, honestly, 4 years ago, like, people would have lost their minds, right?
Yeah.
Is
like
that
in a bad way, right? Like Blizzard fans would have been upset that the game was coming to console.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's still people out there that are a little bit upset, but just, I think Diablo 3 and Reaper Souls on console like shifted things so much.
Yeah, they've done a good job with their console ports of the the games that they've been coming out with, and so I guess it doesn't feel like as much of a disgrace, maybe.
Right.
It doesn't feel like a betrayal.
Yeah. Overwatch 2.
PvE, that's fun. I'm not a big Overwatch guy.
Do you think you'll play through that campaign?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah?
I think I will be. I'm more interested in that than doing any more multiplayer. I mean, I hit a wall in the original Overwatch after hitting level 25, and I was like, I think I got it. I'm good.
Yeah.
You know,
I really like the original Overwatch. I am just stunned by their approach to a sequel. I think it's incredibly interesting, that idea of keeping the PvP pool as the same, and so the only reason, as far as I can tell, where you'd buy Overwatch 2 is to have that PvE content. And it's just like a weird, bizarre approach to a sequel. And, there were interviews where Jeff Kaplan, the director, was even talking about what a tough sell that was within Activision Blizzard to have a sequel where it's like, well, you don't really need to buy it. Like, you can play with the new characters and new maps and stuff if you just have Overwatch 1. But it's a really cool, unique structure. But it almost is the best of all these worlds now, right? Where it's like, okay, Overwatch 1 fans, you can still play. You're not going to lose your progress. Also, if there's a game on a shelf called Overwatch 2, you're going to dupe a lot of people into buying it. And then your hardcore fans would probably be like, yeah, it's been 4 years. I'm willing to buy another Overwatch anyway. So it's like, are you really losing that much by keeping that player pool exactly the same?
Is it going to be a $60 game?
I would imagine.
Yeah,
I would imagine it'll be $40 or $60, right?
Yeah.
It's an interesting, like they mentioned that, we want to redefine what it means to be a sequel. And like, my gut reaction is to say like, yeah, maybe like how much of a sequel is this? Because it just feels like, part of me does feel like this could have been an expansion pack that you paid for. But, obviously, like you said, they want to have that too on there to kind of bring back interest. But yeah, I'm interested to see. I'm not like crazy over the moon, because I was like one of those people who were like, I'm okay with them just characterizing the characters outside of it, because it's, I don't want them to like have to hamstring a bunch of gameplay into these characters' development. But I that push mode seems kind of interesting. I don't like a lot of the new character looks, but I don't know.
It's very subtle when they said we redesigned all these characters. It's like, well, it's tough to redesign characters when you've released dozens of skin for all these characters, but it's like, all right, I guess.
Like
I can
for
see
Tracer
some difference.
specifically and May, I think I would have to look at them side by side. Like, okay, that's the new one. Okay, cool.
They get like haircuts
so
or
it is
something?
changed. Like Mercy's was the most notable because she had like a very different hairstyle.
Okay,
Yeah.
hair.
Like you see Winston, it's just like, okay, I guess, yeah.
He's a
I guess it
chimpanzee
is.
now.
Yeah,
He's a different animal. Oh, okay,
and like
cool.
the biggest difference with like Reinhardt is that his helmet is off.
But there was a skin where you could take
Yeah,
this.
but now it's base. You get that for free now. If you buy the game.
You're missing this bullet point. All the heroes have new looks, Kyle.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Completely different.
That is actually a cool point, is that if you buy Overwatch 2, you get to keep all of the cosmetic stuff. Like you don't have to, it doesn't sacrifice that part of it at all. So which is a very smart move on their sense. But like I am less excited for this sequel than if they had said like, hey, we are changing up the gameplay enough that the two versions are not compatible. Like that's what I would have wanted to see, is just like things like mantling or like some sort of like physical change to how you play Overwatch that makes it feel new.
Yeah,
but
that too.
Right.
Because there were hints, in job postings a while ago about them hiring for somebody who could design vehicles for a first-person game, and so everyone thought that was Overwatch 2. But now, again, thanks to Jason Schreier over Kotaku, maybe that was actually for the StarCraft first-person game that they ended up canceling, but they were making like a StarCraft in the vein of like a Battlefield, and that got canceled. By the way, it really bummed me out when Brat came on stage during BlizzCon. He's like, "Where's the Horde?" And everyone's like, "Yeah." "Where's the Alliance?" "Yeah." And then he goes, "Where's my Zerg, Terran, and Protoss at?" It's like, like it was just like 4 people in the back of the room. Like, oh Christ, no! Don't let them know that there's not enough people playing StarCraft.
Yep. Yeah, but I think as much as I would have wanted something new and different, I'm sure they have fire in their hands. They don't want to like change things just for the sake of changing it. So it's like if this is working, we don't really have any major changes that we feel like are missing from Overwatch. Then why change it?
Right. It's weird to me that they opened with the lore of Overwatch. And especially, like, it's a friendly world. I like it. But just that lore video and the framing of the lore video for being like, Overwatch is reuniting. We're getting all these folks back together. It feels even more weird just because the sequel looks so similar to the first game. Where it's like, they never went away. Like, if it had been 20 years, then I understand that framing. But just that entire pitch of, we're getting the team back together. It's like, what are you talking about? People are still playing this every day.
I think a lot of it has to do with, like, people are going crazy for, like, trying to figure out what the lore of Overwatch is, and I think that was their appeal to them. Like, we're finally going to delve into the story that you wanted us to, right? Like, outside of these character shorts. But, that is what those shorts have been leading up to, is a lot of, like, here's what this character is doing now that they're out of Overwatch. And so the larger narrative theme is, like, now that we know what most people are up to, now it's the phase of the game where, they're back, right? But it still feels like a weird loose thread of, like, okay, I guess that's what they're finally doing, the thing that everyone thought they were going to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Would you have wanted like a Fortnite style like event like that blew up the universe in some significant way to like get ready for Overwatch 2?
Just to make that impact of them coming back?
Yeah, just kill all the characters.
Yeah, or
something. Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, like here's their new skin. It's their skin inside out.
Or
they
like,
did.
Like a Thanos snap for like half the characters for like a week. Like you can't play as Tracer for a week.
Yeah,
and
I'm
then
sure
Overwatch
Blizzard would love that PR hit.
We're tired of designing around Mercy. She's dead.
Right. Is it crappy of us to talk about those games in light of Blizzard?
I don't think so. I think we did talk about Blizzard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't let them forget that they messed up.
Yeah.
Guys.
I mean, yeah. Like I think acknowleding that
let your players speak out
happened.
about the things that they're interested in.
Yeah.
Lonely Mountains Downhill. This is a simple little game. It's very much in that vein of like a What the Golf for me this year, where it's just nice pick up and play. One of the greatest podcast games of the year. It's downhill mountain biking. Think of it a little bit like a 3D Trials, but much more relaxed and subdued. It's a lot of restarting, little challenges to try and get down the hill. No jumping this time around, but you've been playing it a little bit today, Jeff.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's not really a game that you can describe why it's good. It's like, yeah, you're riding a bike down a giant mountain, a lonely mountain, you might say, and it controls really well.
Yeah,
and like I don't know how else to explain it. It's kind of very drifty, but it just feels really good to control the bike.
And just slowly making your way, or quickly making your way down that mountain, it feels a little bit like some of my favorite parts of SSX, like the Untracked, the final level there, or like remember in SSX 3 there was that huge run that took like half an hour to get down the entire mountain. It kind of has that level of just like, let's just take our time and slowly work our way down this mountain.
Yeah, and they have kind of paths that, like when you start, it tells you, okay, this is the path. But then I was really surprised by, it's just a giant mountain, and you can find there are tons of other different paths down it, and like shortcuts and stuff.
And you can find a difficult shortcut that you just try over and over
and over
and insist that there's a way for it to be done, even though
and
after many tries it seems like maybe there isn't. You should try something new.
Yeah, that part of it does kind of scratch that Trials itch if you like kind of trying to perfect a really hard thing, but then there are other much easier paths that you can take. I was surprised by it, and I really liked it. It was like, oh, okay, this is why Miller was talking about it a year ago, when it was kind of in a preview stage and stuff like that. And even then, when I read the previews, it's like, okay, yeah, I guess
biking.
You ride a bike down a mountain and it feels good. And now I'm telling you, you ride a bike down a mountain and it feels really good. I guess it's the kind of game where you just kind of have to feel it for yourself.
Lonely Mountains Downhill, Steam, PS4, and Xbox One. It definitely feels like the type of game that's...
Well, it's on Switch too, right?
Is it really?
I believe
I didn't see
so.
that on the
It's
site.
on that list online. I haven't checked the Switch store or anything. But
Sure.
It's funny because I was like, is this on Switch? Oh, it's on Switch. Oh, this is a great Switch game. And then it's like I have that realization. It's like, what does that even mean, really?
Sure.
It's just a good game will be good on a different version.
Right. Let me double check if this is actually on Switch, Kyle.
Okay.
It might be out
Yeah,
of your
I'm dirty
effing
liar.
mind. Hang on.
happened before.
But it
Anyway.
definitely feels like the type of game that's on Steam, but it's so hip and clean that it's like, it's amazing that it's not on the Epic Game Store. Like that we're at a point where any game that seems cool, I'm shocked
Yeah.
when it's not on the
Why
Epic Game
haven't
Store.
they just bought
Yeah.
this?
Not seen it on Switch here, Kyle.
Okay.
Maybe it'll be released later on Switch.
Well, I'm sorry if you grabbed your Switch, if you paused this podcast and picked up your Switch and started
I
searching.
paid $20 to somebody. I don't know why I don't have it on
bought a
Switch.
gift card.
Hey, speaking of Switch, they released Terry Bogard in Smash yesterday.
Yeah.
Cyril Vasquez.
That was cool. I like that trailer. It was a really long-winded presentation about Terry Bogard, which I did not expect to see in 2019.
That's amazing because, I think I have a decent framing for video game history, I'd hope at this point, but Neo Geo stuff, and especially Neo Geo fighting games, is just, it's always been a little bit confusing to me. So to have video game history presented to me by Sakurai being like, here's Fatal Fury. Here's why King of Fighters is connected to Fatal Fury. Here's this character. Here's their brother. Here's their dad. It's like, okay, this is the history lesson I've always wanted from one of my favorite developers.
Well, I
now.
watched a little bit of it with you, and I'm laughing at just the idea of you sit down to watch this video. It's like, all right, new Smash content. Let's learn about new Smash Brothers. And Sakurai's like, welcome. Get ready to learn about new Smash Brothers. Okay, this was a Neo Geo console.
Yeah,
this is what it looks like.
Title screen goes, what is the Neo Geo?
And I was like, all right, I'm in. Yeah, I want to know for sure.
I just want now Sakurai narrating all of video game history, which he could because of Smash Brothers, right? Just like, I would like another little history lesson from Sakurai.
Those videos are so loose and strange that I like them. Like people laughing off screen.
Oh, hang on. I got a beef with this. I need to go back and analyze that because I love that for the last couple of these videos that have just been very loose on Nintendo's YouTube channel that you can hear people laughing off camera. But I swear this time it feels weird. It sounds like
Were
there's
they faking it?
It sounds like there's 50 people. I think they added a laugh track.
If Sakurai's your boss and he invites you to be off screen for this video, you're probably going to nervously laugh at everything that guy says, right?
Hang on. I'll put it in post because I'm just saying the laughter from earlier
turned it up,
videos. I think they sweetened the pot.
All right,
I
probably.
think that's okay. So here's the old version.
We don't have much of a budget for this.
Here's the most recent laughter.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, he's a fraud. Do you like the way that Terry plays?
Yeah, I think I've always my concerns about he's just gonna be like Ryu. Like they kind of use the fighting game character concept where you do the motions and it plays like you expect, and they're always facing their opponent kind of thing with Ken and Ryu. But they added some interesting twists, and but to go back to the presentation real quick, I know that this was in the context of people were kind of disappointed that Terry of all characters was added because he's one of the more obscure, probably the most obscure character they've added in the DLC. Yeah, I think people were saying it's a waste of a character slot. So that felt to me like he was trying to present the best case that he could for Terry, and I think in that he revealed I'm not going to say maybe this is 100% the case, but it feels like this is the one I did for me because
clearly he's a fan. He loves this stuff.
Loves King of Fighters. That's the fighting game. Someone was breaking down the fact that you can spot dodge in Smash Brothers, you can dodge downwards and you'll dodge an attack. That is a thing from King of Fighters. Things like short hops are in King of Fighters. Yeah. A lot of parts of Smash Brothers' DNA come from King of Fighters.
What's interesting and really craps all over your point here, Suriel, just lays into it, is don't you remember when they were announcing the wave of DLC, Sakurai said, I had no choice or no hand in these. This was all Nintendo's choice.
Sure.
Remember? And so this is a weird character to be in that batch, but clearly he loves it.
Yeah,
he got to the point.
It's clear that this is the one that he wanted to do most. It feels like even because Banjo he was very excited about it, but it didn't you can kind of tell that this is
not his thing.
Yeah, but here it's I'm going to give you this whole PowerPoint, this whole video presentation. I'm going to go over every character that can randomly appear on this stage.
Except for one,
Except for Mai, which I'll get to in a bit. But just the fact that I love all these characters. It was a lot of work, but I please enjoy this.
Yeah. We've included 50 tracks from all of SNK history. Also, I love that he's And also, you can play some of these games on the Nintendo Switch. I recommend Fatal Fury Special, King of Fighters 95 as a starting place. 98's the best.
Yeah,
and
like him specifically calling out like his up air attack was like this is the only one that isn't like an actual move from his games, but we had to have that because you have no reason to do that in a fighting game.
Yeah,
like a traditional fighting game.
The whole presentation had a little bit of like it felt almost like a lifetime achievement.
Yeah, it was like very reverent.
Of like this thing is important to me and I would have put him in here earlier if I could have, but we had to wait till now.
Right.
And it made me like, because when they announced Terry, I was like, okay, whatever. I mean, I'm more Smash Brothers. I'll take it. Thank you. But I wasn't really excited about it. But after getting his history lesson, I'm like, oh, like I'm kind of more interested in this now. And like I understand the value of him and why he's important to everything Smash Brothers,
I can't wait to randomly get him in the future when I choose random for my character. That's going to be really fun.
I mean, like gameplay wise, he does have like some interesting mechanics. Like they talked about how he can counter after dodge, which is a thing you can do in KOF. He has like the only like backwards B move. His forward B is like the gosh, I'm forgetting like the knuckle. And then the backward is the crack shot, the leaping kick.
Yeah.
And then he explained how you can do the moves.
Yeah,
by pointing.
Right. And I think
let me speed that up.
To me, the craziest part is like the desperation stuff, which is like when he's over 100%, he gets access to his super special moves, which is like. I mean, he has a final smash, right? But it's just a collection of 3 of those super special moves. But just the fact that you can just pull off the Buster Wolf whenever you are over 100%. And it's like, hey, look, you don't want to keep doing this. But also it's a really powerful move and it does like 30% damage. That is like a super cool mechanic that I'm into.
Go ahead. No, it's just awesome that they are breaking the mechanics a little bit of Smash again this late in the game. I mean, Hero was nuts, right? From Dragon Quest. But then not only the character, but then also the stage. Because the stage... Yeah. There's no ring out. There's like a barrier. He's like, oh, it'll feel like a classic fighting game. And you have to actually smash them through like this glass wall effectively.
Right. And I'll be curious to see like how quickly like I can't imagine that stage will see any competitive play, but I would love to see just a lot of like wall bounce combos, which is a thing in fighting games. But like seeing those in Smash would be super cool. Like it's my only disappointment is that they don't have like Marco the Wolves Terry, because obviously a lot of his poses and stuff are based around his hat. But in Marco the Wolves, it's like he's older. He doesn't have a hat. Instead, he has like a trucker jacket.
Hang on. Now, I just recently watched, I believe it was a Ken Burns documentary on the history of SNK. Terry's in Marco the Wolves?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Like he when he talks about Rock Howard of like, oh yeah, he raised, but it's incongruent to the timeline. But Smash kind of works that way. That's because Rock Howard is from Marco the Wolves, because that's when he's grown up and old enough to fight. And so like Terry, like that Terry that I'm talking about is from his timeline basically.
I like Sakurai's It's Chinatown reaction to Smash Brothers now.
We're done talking about China.
Smash Brothers.
Excuse me. So yeah, it was a really cool like nod to that history, and I'm like, I don't think I'll play as much Terry as like I did of Banjo, but I like that he's in it. It feels like it's made Sakurai happy, and I'm finally glad that he's got one on the board.
He can finally take a nap, hopefully.
Yeah, well, he's got one more character, and then he's got a whole other pack of DLC.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully this was like his waking nap of like I get to work on Terry.
Oh boy.
You want to talk?
The Mai thing you're saying?
Oh yeah, because they mentioned like. They're not adding her to the game because it's like
they have 20 characters that will just randomly show up in the background
in the background of the new stage,
which is crazy that they're not trophies. It's like you went through all the trouble of modeling them
and animating them,
and all that is they just show up in the background and like have a couple of different animations. And it's all the most popular characters except for Mai, who
probably would have been the number 2 if you were going to add someone from SNK.
Oh really?
Yeah.
But why wouldn't she show up there?
Because her like default outfit is like too revealing.
But why did Sakurai say
it's because Smash Brothers is for all the good boys and girls.
He literally said that, Jeff, like a little Santa Claus. He said Smash is for the good boys and girls, so we couldn't include this lady with her big old boobies all over the place.
It's weird because it's like
she's for the bad boys and girls.
That's right. That's for the M rated.
Because like they've covered her up before. Like, and I think there was like some King of Fighters thing where like she had like shorts basically instead of like whatever the default outfit is, which is a lot more revealing. So it's like I'm surprised they didn't just do that for this. But
when he's such a slave to the history of SNK, I'm sure he's like, we can't not show this lady's areolas. What are we gonna do?
So I'm sure that's like if we're not gonna have the classic outfit in there, I don't want it at all or something. Or maybe Nintendo was just like, look, no Mai, just I know whatever, no Mai.
Smash is rated T, probably, right?
Yeah. No. I mean people were talking about
isn't it?
It's weird that Mai.
Yo, that E is
but Bayonetta can, even though like that's kind of her whole thing. And I think it is literally like her outfit was too much.
Yeah.
I don't think it like speaks to
just
anything about
too
the sexuality. Because like beyond her outfit, I don't think the actual like character is like really all that. Like I don't think she uses like. Her sex appeal is not really like a weapon she uses. I think she has like a butt song similar to Peach, but aside from that, I don't think they like do much with her.
Yeah.
But
was she in the trailer of trying to grab the invite?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
It just flies by her. Oh.
Yeah, well, the invite gets really big, and then like Austin Powers in front of her boobs just to like hide it as she's on screen. It's rated E, Kyle.
Okay.
Yeah, but
okay, good to know.
Yeah, it is weird that Bayonetta is in it, but like they kind of you can kind of see that they're toning down Bayonetta. Obviously, like Snake doesn't have like his signature like silenced pistol, right? Because they're going for
and
the
he doesn't grab
weapon.
an enemy and it goes.
Yeah, to their neck. Yeah, he just makes them go to sleep for a second.
God, that would be. I'm bummed now that that's not in Smash Brothers. That's one of Snake's throws. He just chokes.
That should just be watch Banjo's head twist around backwards.
It should at least be one of like the music track options. Is just like 2 minutes of and then just snap later on.
But yeah, cool addition. I'm curious to see who their final character is, which is funny because they had to announce like, hey, we're not going to be announcing the next one in their tweet just so people aren't like over like flipping tables as soon as they realize that they're not getting announced. But
Miyamoto, I'm not having fun right now. Yeah, it's just about time to get to some wonderful comments that clearly make the show better. But look at this. You know what's happening? We're honoring the people that have supported the Patreon in a big way. This is patreon.com/MinnMax 2 N's. If you support us at the $100 level, you get a video shout out on screen, as you can see right now if you're watching the video version. $400 support, we will read your message and give you a plug. This will be for people, companies, peoples, places, things,
pets?
Cities, pets,
corporations.
Here's the thing. Yes. I mean, if one finds it, and it's a tricky thing, right? Like, well, what if Electronic Arts wants to give you $400 for the Patreon? It's like, it's making the show better, realistically, and all we can do, other than, if you want to put a ban on all video game stuff, but I hope people trust us at the point that we would never let somebody supporting us at the $400 tell us how to shape our content or influence our opinion on that content.
Yeah.
And the beauty is like, okay, in a hypothetical world, if Andrew Wilson at Electronic Arts is like, let's support this Patreon at the $400 level, and then we just crap all over Jedi Fallen Order, and they're like threaten to pull their support, it's like, I dare you, do it. That's the beauty of what everybody has built here, is just this decentralized network that hopefully makes MinnMax sustainable going into the future. Where it's like, we don't need that. It's a nice bonus, but we can survive another day if someone wants to pull their $400. Yeah, exactly.
Like I don't understand what a shout out is gonna influence, from us.
And on our end, worst case scenario is like we lose $400, which is not terrible. Like whatever money they end up paying.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't let that discourage you from giving us $400.
That's exactly. It's the flip, right? Where $400 actually does help us a fair amount, but it's not going to make or break the show or be at the level to dictate our content during the show.
It's just we're not going to compromise our honesty for the rest of the community that's contributing.
Yeah, but obviously we would love it more if it was like, here's this random shout out from a guy from, here's my small business or whatever, or my pet.
For sure.
I just want to honor my dog or whatever.
Even if it's Beaten Down Brian, who I consider one of the greatest people in the world, a huge podcast supporter, does not want any extra things read. But let me talk about this Beaten Down Brian and what a crazy supporter this fella is.
Sweetheart.
He's a sweetheart from Ireland. He actually, because he's a very smart guy and he knows the Patreon world very well, I called him up before I announced I was leaving just to talk about the founding of MinnMax and his suggestions. An avalanche of good advice, and so I can't thank Beaten Down Brian in the Discord or on Twitter. Be sure to reach out to him and just thank him for helping to shape MinnMax in a big way. Wonderful guy. Here's a pro tip though. Never call Ireland from your cell phone. I didn't know there were still like long distance charges for things. Then I got my phone bill and gazunga. But hey, it was worth it for Beaten Down Brian.
Could have just used Discord.
Yeah, I could have used anything. I didn't even
Skype.
I thought it was 2019.
Should we list off some more options?
Yeah, I didn't know I needed 18 or
you could have emailed him
or whatever the hell. Email. That's what I was looking for.
Electronic mail.
But thank
Minnesota
you for the support.
Maximum.
Beaten Down Brian. Also, Richard Mady. Look at this. Richard Mady made a game along with some friends, and so he wants to say, hey, Check out To The Top, a VR platforming game that brings old school challenge with new school tech. Official PlayStation Magazine gave it a 9 out of 10. It's available now on PSVR, Steam, and Oculus Home. And of course, as Richard Mady wants us to know, To The Top!
What was the name of the game one more time?
To the top!
To the top.
And I'm so happy that this fella wrote in about this game, a game that it seems solid. We haven't talked about it on the show, so it's nice that I don't have to worry about it stepping on our opinions too much. At the same time, too, checking it out on Steam, it's like, okay, it's very positive. People actually really think this VR platforming game is cool. It's nice that we don't have to promote a stinker out of the gate, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Did he dictate that you would say the name of the game in Jerry Seinfeld voice?
Well, the name of the game is literally says it's like asterisk Seinfeld voice asterisk to the top.
Right. When you're searching To The Top, and this is important for a big podcast supporter to really F with the name of his game in the first ever support.
The name of the game is To The Top.
Look,
To the top.
We'll get better at this.
Yeah. And I'm going to give it in a flat. Like, who's the most flat Seinfeld character?
It's obviously George's dad.
Yeah, how would they go? To the top! How do you do that?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Something like that. Anyways, thanks for the
We
support.
hope that was worth your money.
Again, if you want to support us at this level, $400, you can check out the Patreon, patreon.com/MinnMax2Ns. We would appreciate and love any of your support. Thank you, everybody.
That's right.
Did you know about this? Every Tuesday, we make a post on patreon.com/MinnMax2Ns, and for people that support us at any level, you can leave a comment, and there's a very good chance we'll read it on the show. I imagined that compared to some old show called the Game Informer Show podcast, that we would have fewer questions and comments. The opposite has happened.
Oh, no.
Already.
We are averaging over double the amount of comments every week compared to the Game Informer Show, which is amazing. It shows,
I know, it's exciting.
It shows how excited this community is, which excites us. And so thanks to everybody that leaves comments on patreon.com/MinnMax2Ns. Consider supporting us if you're checking this out and not jumping in there in the comments. But we should mention as well that if you support us at any level, you also get access to the Discord, which we should just rename the Discord Shangri-La compared to just for how positive and nice that community is.
Yeah,
it's great.
You won't find anything else like it on the internet.
That's true.
Because it is just super, like, everyone's happy. If you go in there with a question or like you're doing something dumb for as far as Discord etiquette goes, which none of us knew and when we started it, but if you go in there, like, people will just help you out and just be nice about it, which is awesome.
I had a weird moment. I think we all had a weird moment when we were streaming Luigi's Mansion 3 on Tuesday for the Great Goaty Hunt, a stream we do every Tuesday, that YouTube picked up the stream and really liked it, I guess. So while I was streaming, it started throwing the feed and people suggested videos. So we got a lot of new viewers to MinnMax through that Luigi's Mansion stream. And it was like this crushing realization memory of like, oh, that's right. This is what the wider internet's like. There's a lot of people like, you effing suck at Luigi, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, yeah. The internet can suck compared to the MinnMax internet, which is such a sweet little community. Growing, strong community. Thanks for all your support, everybody. Here we go. Zaid Al-Wasiti says, hey, Glottis Maximus? Is that Grim Fandango?
I don't
know
so.
where Glottis is.
I think it might be Glottis' last name. Anyways, what do you guys think are the most replayable games ever made? I'm talking games that never get old no matter how many times you play through them or beat them. One that comes to mind is Metal Gear Solid 5. The amount of variation the systems allow in the game is kind of unreal. Most replayable games ever made.
I had a different approach to this.
Oh, really?
I mean, my answer is Tetris.
That was my answer to it.
What are you guys talking about?
It's the most replayable game. What do you
I
want?
have played that consistently my entire life.
Right. I mean, you'd have to go with a roguelike, right? If you want to try and get closer to something that's more approachable here.
I still I play Mega Man X probably once a year still, you know, just because it's like it is consistently fun. The controls have always been amazing, you know.
Hang on, pro tip, don't Google Glottis Maximus.
Okay.
It's a lot of
what it is.
Confusing anatomical drawings.
Pictures. But yeah,
not Grim Fandango, ladies and gentlemen.
Fair enough.
So Tetris,
Mega Man X I play a lot, yeah.
Super Mario World is one I can go back to.
Just always makes you happy? Yeah?
Play a lot of Dota.
Oh,
Dota,
of course, the old Dota.
Makes sense.
Let's
Dota
see.
boy cereal, we call him.
That's me.
Eric Seal says, hey, dear Mint Mackers. You got it.
Mintimum Mactimers.
For $2, you can call us whatever you want, I guess.
What game have you played the most consecutive amount of days this generation? For me, I played Overwatch nearly every night for 7 months with the same group, and it was honestly the most fun I've ever had gaming. I love this question. The most consecutive amount of days.
I still play a lot of Dota 2.
So this generation, I mean, Dota 2 it counts, right?
Yeah.
And so what do you think is your longest streak there?
Longest streak? I don't
Consecutive days.
Probably like most of a college semester. Or no, probably like an entire school year at some point. Like where I would just play at least one match a day. There's like, I think my longest is I played like 12 matches in one day, which is a lot.
Oh my God.
But yeah, that game, I played a lot of that in college for sure.
That's
my game.
Mine's probably Breath of the Wild, honestly.
Really?
Because like I ripped through the review and then just got reinvigorated once everyone else got their hands on it. And I was also got into the amiibo element of it, of like collecting things with the amiibos and stuff like that. And like
amiibo.
And then maybe I took like I'm trying to think of how long I was playing it, but there was certainly like a break there. And then the DLC came and that reinvigorated me. Like, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, I probably played that every day for like 2 or 3 months or something. I don't know.
That's
like
crazy.
Even if it was short. But
there was that whole period of our people coming into the office because you'd left like a bunch of amiibos at some point in the table downstairs.
Yeah.
And so like I, Reiner, and a couple of other people would just walk in and like do our daily amiibo stuff with that game because like, you could get chests and like we were looking
Trash. I hated it so much.
Why?
You're bastardizing the purity of that game. It's all about exploration, not just let me slam a toy on this and get a treasure chest. Just gimme.
But it wasn't even like
I need.
The items we wanted were mostly collectible because they weren't great pieces of armor.
No.
Like the thing that I was looking for was like the Ocarina of Time and like Skyward Sword sets. It wasn't like I want a bunch of like good weapons and ammo so I don't have to worry about them. It was because there were items exclusive to that.
You guys don't understand art.
Okay.
Oh, I guess Pokemon Go is probably my other one
That's
too.
what I was going to say.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's good.
I didn't even think about that one. That's a good one.
The whole office was hooked on that for a long time.
Sure. I was thinking a lot about this question. It was really killing me. It was like, it's got to be Stardew Valley.
Oh,
like I would play Stardew Valley for months every single day, just going through that entire game. Maybe I would take a break on the weekends or something and skip a day here or there, but that is just, oh boy. At some point I need to go back and start a new game there.
What's a developer's name?
Eric Baroni.
What is he working on? Is he just still sort of poking at Stardew Valley, or do you think he's working on a new project?
Well, he took over publishing from Chucklefish for Stardew Valley and everything but mobile, I believe, at this point. So he's probably got his hands full on that. They're still updating Stardew Valley as far as I know. But I remember in Jason Schreier's book, Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, which is very, very good, there's a chapter on Stardew Valley, which is also just an amazing chapter. But in that, the tease at the end is he says that he's interested in making a game about collecting bugs. Which is like, oh my God, that's how Pokemon started. This is amazing. Just if that's where he's going, the idea of the Stardew Valley developer making a Pokemon clone.
Get out of here. We're deflating.
Yeah.
As we think about it.
We'll never see Hansen again.
Nick L says, hello, MinnMax crew. 2020 is right around the corner. You see this? You hear about this?
I heard, yeah.
There's another year?
I thought this was the last one.
I've been doing so many of these. I'm sick of it. And we've got plenty of amazing games lined up for the first half of the year. That said, I'm sure there are plenty of surprises in store for the next generation. Do you think the game of the year for 2020 will release in the first half of the year or the second half? I'd be shocked if it's second half.
Yeah.
I mean, because if we're looking at new consoles at that point, right?
Yeah.
And launch software is rarely exciting.
I'm sure.
It's exciting. It's rarely good.
It's almost a lock in my mind that Horizon Zero Dawn 2 will be a launch game for PS5.
That'd be a good launch game.
But
didn't win last time.
Do you think that has a chance of taking Game of the Year over like a Cyberpunk? I think the only way this is
for me, maybe
back half of the year is if Cyberpunk gets delayed, which I think is a pretty good chance it will. Right?
Yeah. It seems like all the games that got pushed out of 2019 or were never announced for 2019 but are probably coming early 2020 would take it.
Yeah, for sure.
Have they said Ghost of Tsushima when that's...
I think it has to be. They said that it's reconfirmed for PS4, and so it would have to be first half of the year. But with Last of Us getting all wiggly up there with its release date, I'm sure that just leaves Sucker Punch like,
Yeah, I mean, they got to stay out of that blast radius, right? I mean, that'd be silly to...
So probably summer of 2020? And then
I think so.
Keep the console for November?
I'd love to see a game like that in the middle of summer, because I feel like summer's so light. It would be cool to have a big, huge release.
But then when's Dream's going to take its sweet landing?
Dreams is out, man.
Whenever they manage to finish that single player stuff.
That's going to change everything, man. When that campaign's out, everyone's going to check
I remind
it out.
people, like, we've seen a lot of that campaign on that cover story when I was there for Game Informer. Like, they said it's like a 2 to 3 hour experience. It's like a cool little thing, but it's also like narrative based to the point that like it's a little bit of like a text adventure at times. Like, don't think of it like a full Little Big Planet campaign. It's just like this funky, artsy little 2 hour thing, you know? Jordan Bays says, hello, Jordan Bays here. My question is about Square Enix next year. With Final Fantasy 7 releasing early in the year and Avengers coming in May, what does Square show at E3 2020? Even if they don't have an entire press conference, they'll certainly show off something, right? What are your thoughts? Will we see a trailer for Final Fantasy 16? They recently announced they're working on a big next-gen title. Wonder if this is the Luminous studio? I wonder if that's the one.
I mean, they can always show the next chapter of Final Fantasy 7. I feel like they have that in their pocket for the next 30 years, right? Like,
I mean, just a couple months after the last one comes out.
Why not?
It'd be like a Back to the Future 2, having a teaser for Back to the Future 3 during the credits.
They wouldn't have to like. It wouldn't have to be substantial. They could just say, "Hey, here's the first trailer for the second part of."
I think they'd want to do 16.
Yeah, first.
In the meanwhile, because
didn't they say like this is like Final Fantasy 16 for us? We are putting like as much effort as we would into a mainline Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, but I don't think they said this is like 16 for us. I don't think anyone is allowed to.
Well, but like if they said that they're putting as much effort, like, do you really think they're building 2 mainline Final Fantasy effort games at the same time?
I think they are.
Yeah.
I think there's enough teams. Plus, like the fact that Luminous Studio, that Tabata, the director of 15, he left to go make new IP, and then they said, "Oh, you're making new IP? Never mind. Don't do that anymore. You know, like we need you to actually work on some stuff." So maybe that got pulled in to work on 16 as well. Yeah. Whatever that would be.
And Nier Automata, that's Square, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I
could see a sequel
trailer
to that for sure.
Nier Automata.
Oh, you know what it's going to be though? Hey, listen to the MinnMax show last week. Babylon's Fall. That's going to be E3 2020, right?
I mean, honestly, yeah.
Here's a hot tip. I will not say what it is. But I will say, when I was at Square years ago for the Final Fantasy 15 cover story trip, I saw a game that they have not shown yet that looked like a big thing. And so I know there is something in the works that is a big thing. And I don't know what it is, but it's like,
is it a big thing?
It's a big
Square,
thing.
show us your big thing.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for them to show that. And so maybe that'll be E3 2020. This vision in my head of a tease of some content coming. Zach Thornhill says, hey, given Square's record for Final Fantasy 15, do you think they are capable of finishing all the parts of the 7 remake? I think this is a big concern. I really do.
I mean, 7's going to be more successful than 15, though, right?
Probably. Yeah. But still,
I say that as someone who liked 15.
Right.
Yeah. I watched the movie.
I will be surprised if 7, the full remake, is wrapped up within the next generation.
Oh, you think 7 remake part 2 will be a PlayStation 5 game?
No. He's saying like that.
For sure, that will.
Final Fantasy 7 Part 5 is a PlayStation 6 game.
That's exactly it.
Oh, really? You think so?
I don't know, man. At this pace, you kidding me? Like, I know they got their tech down and they probably have a pipeline, but especially if they go for 4 games over 3, like, oh my God, this could be an entire generation of just waiting for Final Fantasy 7, which is going to be bizarre.
What if it's going to be like a Half-Life situation? Like where 7,
yeah.
part 1 is going to be like a big, huge game, but all the other parts will be a lot smaller, and then they will just never finish it. But if someday we'll get a blog post about the ending of Final Fantasy VII
that will explain what was supposed to happen in Final Fantasy VII.
My main character, Sky.
Todd Oakstra says, after seeing the Diablo IV and Overwatch 2 trailer cinematics and seeing how good they are, would you like to see Blizzard or another video game company make a CGI animated movie? I would be curious about it. When I was at Blizzard last year, I talked to the head of the cinematics department about that and like which franchise you'd want to do it with, if you want to make a new IP for a film. And he's like, I think it'd be tempting to use our own stuff. I'd love to see an Overwatch movie, yada, yada, yada. And then I remember my favorite part of that interview is I talked to him about Spirits Within. And he's like, that blew our minds. He's like, we loved Spirits Within.
Oh,
like, yeah. When we saw that, it was like we brought the entire Blizzard cinematics team to the theaters, and we were blown away. And it wasn't until like
at the screen and said, "Look at the shirts folding."
Yeah, but then it was like years later, like, wait, is that actually a bad movie? Like, what have we done here?
I'd like to see Valve's like Team Fortress group. I don't know what they're doing, but like a Team Fortress movie would be fun, you know?
Yeah.
But it's always that thing. It's like flying too close to the sun. Like Final Fantasy is such a good example of like, you know, you can make a great 3-minute cinematic, but that doesn't translate to a 90-minute feature. You know,
that's exactly. It's a completely different skill set, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at all the Pixar short directors that have graduated, and it's like, some people make the good dinosaur. But also thinking about Blur.
By the way, people are too harsh on the good dinosaur. I don't know if we need to go off on a tangent here. But
Its name is the Good Dinosaur.
there are worse Pixar movies than the good
worse
dinosaur.
dinosaurs.
What? Is
Cars 1.
No, Cars
2.
1.
I know how much you love Cars 2. Cars 3.
I think I like Cars 2
I
more
like
than
Good Dinosaur, I think, more than Monsters University, maybe?
What? Really?
The greatest prequel of all time.
I consider Good Dinosaur, as Blank Check would call it, a gentleman's 6. That ain't great.
I just think people are too harsh on it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
They're like, if you look at other, studios as animated children's entertainment, I think Good Dinosaurs is
You watch a
close
lot
to
of bad animated movies, though. We only
I
watch
do.
the cream.
By
of the
the
crop.
way, I'm happy
Your
to do
brain
a
is
spoiled
tainted.
on that movie about the firemen coming out on Friday with the wrestler.
What are you talking about?
I don't know what that movie's called. It's the John Cena.
Ferdinand 2?
Oh, I saw the one where their arms are all crossed on the cover.
Yeah, you guys want to do a spoiled for that this next week?
Yeah, enjoy the studio.
Yeah, just come down here on a Saturday morning. No one will be here, but you can just come in here and talk
The
for 2
cameras are
hours.
recording,
Yeah.
we promise.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
good.
Also, I've turned the AC on.
Yeah.
Just to really.
And if you're
blast
curious
you out
about
here.
the setup, it's like the camera being on the floor. That means it's on.
Okay,
Right,
okay.
right,
I
right.
trust all of you.
The on switch is rubbing the camera on the floor. But this made me think of Tim Miller, who directed Deadpool, but he was at Blur for 1,000 years, and Blur does like the amazing Star Wars Old Republic cinematics, the Shadow the Hedgehog cinematic, all your favorite cool cinematics from gaming.
Of the girl with the dragon tattoo, I think.
Is that right?
I think so, yeah, which is really cool.
But I think of him and that extension from making a short to a full film because last night I saw Terminator Dark Fate, and like it. Maybe I'm too up in my head and thinking about him too much, but there's definitely a couple of those set pieces in there where it's like, it was chaotic. I hated it. And it's just all based clearly on that idea of like, wouldn't it be cool if we've never seen Terminators fight each other? I guess, do people care about a location in Terminator Dark Fate?
Probably don't spoil it, right?
I don't know why
I
you're
don't
looking
care
at me.
personally.
All right, I won't. But like, they showed the trailer, like there's the plane, right? It was
Okay.
like, oh, here's a crazy set piece fight in a plane, and apparently they like locked down those set pieces before the script was even written, which is that classic conundrum. So when they happen in the movie, like I was literally looking at the people I was with, like, what is this? Why are we here? And now we're here. Like, what the hell is going on? Because it is so silly. Jeffem, do you have any interest in that movie?
Yeah, that seems like a good Redbox movie.
Yeah, I think so. It's solid. I know it feels cliche to say at this point that people are like, oh, it's the third best Terminator movie. It is, but it's not. It's not great. It's
the gap
solid.
between 2 and 3 is really wide.
Yeah, it's solid enough. I felt like I needed to rewatch 3 to get that full thing in there. But it has it's fun to see a franchise that's been around as long as Terminator still have a couple of unique twists in there where it's like, oh, I've thought about this franchise for a long time, and I've never considered this. Like, that's kind of an interesting idea. And there's 2 to 3 of those in that movie that are worth experiencing.
So do you like fighting on a plane? Or
I love plane fighting. Let's see. Mason Parker. I've barely heard anyone from MinnMax talk about Stadia. I honestly can't wait. What are y'all's thoughts? Is anyone a founder like me? What should my Stadia name be? Don't choose MinnMax.
Finally, we can talk about it. We're free of the shackles.
Oh, yeah, right. Mason
And now
Parker.
the true opinion.
And it is.
I would like it if it works. it's still that, like, conceptually, I think, yeah, sure, it would be great if we didn't have to have a system you can just plug a controller into a computer and play games like we play games now. But leg is such a killer for me that, like, that's something I don't want to compromise on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
I think there's certain games where it won't matter that much. I know that gamers hate it in general, but again, it's not for everybody. If you're not in the city, it's probably going to be tricky. But I think there's a certain section of the gaming audience that's going to be all on board with this stuff. Just the idea that I can just next year once they get out of this kind of trial phase of the Founders Edition only. The idea that I don't need a console and I can play through Red Dead Redemption 2. I think there's so many gamers out there that are like, yeah, I'd like to play that. I never got around to buying a console, but I love playing GTA 3 back in the day, stuff like that. And just the idea, if that messaging can get out there correctly and the internet speed can handle it, I'm excited for it. I still think it has the potential to be huge, but then you remember how dumb giant corporations can be and how dumb Google can be, and a lot of their messaging out of the gate has not been great. And so there's 1,000 things that can and probably will go wrong.
And how crappy internet is.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
even when you have a good connection, it can just like a little spottiness. I remember you were playing Assassin's Creed. Was that on Stadia
office. That was it wasn't called Stadia at that point, but it was like Google's beta testing. It was it was Stadia. Yeah.
And it's just that like, yeah, sure, it plays okay. That's fine. That's not the hurdle. But when you're running, across a field or whatever, and everything goes blocky because the internet's choking for a second.
Yeah.
Like that's super jarring, and that's. Yeah.
But the internet at Game Informer sucked back then, to be fair.
True. But the internet sucks in a lot of places.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No doubt about it.
The other thing is that, like, I think to me, Stadia's biggest problem isn't the tech. It's like the infrastructure. The fact that you have to buy games individually as part of a separate platform, I think is going to make and those copies are streaming only copies. That I think is like the biggest sell, like the hardest sell for me. I think like this will probably be much bigger when someone like Valve says like, oh, now we're doing that too, and it's like here's your Steam copy,
that,
right?
Yeah.
And then you can stream it, because like I think that having to sell people on like buy a copy that will always have some amount of lag on it, and there's no way to really play it locally. Like I think they could have gone with like the subscription model, which is what Game Pass does, but the fact that they're going with like you have to purchase each game individually. Google's kind of flaky about the kind of new services. So I think there's a lot of like outside factors, even outside the tech, that kind of make it hard to get on board with it. Even if like the idea of like, hey, I can just play this game on a laptop that has no real tech behind it. That I think is super cool. It's just I don't know that I want to buy like Red Dead 2 on Stadia versus buying it on like another thing.
Because you have to you trade convenience, which it is very convenient, for not actually owning the game. And it can be taken away from you.
Yeah, I mean, which to be fair is true of like some, like if Valve goes down and like they can't promise that you'll get to keep your copies. Yeah, that could be a potential case.
But even that situation though, I mean, you still have the software on your computer, right?
But like if you haven't downloaded it,
okay.
So like to some degree, all digital markets are like that. But I think to me, like that extra remove of like you don't even get to play the actual copy of the game, but like the actual digital copy. Makes me trust them less in terms of giving them $60 to play a game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Josh Carmel says the Blue Point mystery continues with the recent tweet. Did you see this? What do you guys think they're doing over there? Everything? My money's actually on everything with real animations. So on Halloween, these Blue Point MFers, which are teasing that they're remaking some game on the PlayStation 5, said, and I quote, "So calm this spooky night, a symphony of rumors, not one, but two return from shadow. A resistance to dart home as black monsters escape twisted hills to wander lands and siphon souls. Filter your candy collections soft from solid and be eco-friendly. Have a metal Halloween." And so now the internet has lost its mind. So he says, Josh says, for what I've accounted for, the tweet teases the following games: Castlevania, Shadow of the Colossus again, Resistance, Twisted Metal, Siphon Filter, Metal Gear Solid, a Souls game, Ape Escape, Legends of Dragoon, Jak and Daxter, Eco. I think Blue Point, I think that is just them messing with people to the highest degree. Like, don't try and read it. It's not like Sony PR sat down and said, okay, we're going to send out this cryptic tweet. It's going to be a bit of a puzzle. It's just this independent studio having fun because all the internet's screaming at them about is, what the hell are you guys making?
Yeah. I mean, also, it's like, would they sneak one of the things that they're actually working on into that tweet?
I bet.
You think so?
I bet.
You think it's one of those?
It's one of them? Which
I bet it's one of them. I think it's Demon's Souls.
Yeah, I still lean Demon's Souls. I like the idea of Symphony of the Night and
that'd be really cool.
But they did that Requiem collection.
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
What would you do with Symphony of the Night?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, make it look like the cover art, I guess. Which would be cool.
Really? That seems like an
impossible
weird
task.
thing where it's like, no, well, I mean, it could be high fidelity, but that's just going to make the fact that there are limited frames kind of stand out.
Yeah, you're making a good point, because it would be one of those 2D, 3D like Maverick Hunter X or something. You know, like, and I don't know if I want to play that version of that game necessarily, but I like Symphony of the Night. I would like an excuse to replay it more than anything else.
Yeah. Christopher Reardon says,
what if it's like, because they've done Metal Gear and they've done Silent Hills. What if they're just like saying part of the two things is like we're bringing those two to PS4?
Those remakes?
Yeah.
Like
those
Twins?
HD collections, yeah.
I mean, it's weird that Blue Point would be making a big deal about that, but
was that not them?
I think it was.
Well, they didn't do Metal Gear. They didn't have anything to do with Metal Gear.
The collection?
Yeah. Oh, the HD collection.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Twin Snakes and talking about the Wii remake of Silent Hill, right?
No. Because they did the HD collections for Silent Hill and
I think
Metal Gear.
I don't think they did the Silent
High
Hill.
Voltage.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah,
because those were bad.
Yeah, that was a disaster.
And Blue Point, good.
That's right. Remember when they made Titanfall on 360?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a crazy technical achievement. It's that weird thing where Microsoft was like, shut up. How good it was because they wanted to push the Xbox One, but then Blue Point pulled off this amazing technical achievement of getting it running in a very solid way in 360. And it's like, well, yeah, but that new console though, guys, check this out. Christopher Reardon says, I maintain that this generation is the best ever in gaming, but there's something missing. Learning more about a game after release. I'm talking manuals and especially strategy guides. I remember treasuring certain strategy guides I got when I was a kid, reading them till the binding fell apart. Recently, which strategy guide do you guys feel like you read the most as a kid?
I had Donkey Kong Country one that I looked at a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I had a Super Metroid one.
Okay.
It's either Pokemon Silver or Smash Melee.
Yeah. Ooh, I want to see that Smash Melee guide. I wonder how that holds up.
It had like different stats for the characters, and according to them, Captain Falcon was the best character because he had like the highest collective stats.
That's
Which
funny.
he's not bad in that game, but he's not the best character.
Yeah. It's just Fox, right?
Yeah, it's Fox.
Come on, it's Fox. Recently, I bought a beautiful guide for Final Fantasy 15 to try and recapture that old feeling, but it just made me a little sad because a lot of the information in it was irrelevant or missing because of patches, and a lot of the information can be found in the game anyway. Is there any way we can recapture that old strategy guide magic, or am I just being old? Here's what you do. It's a very simple solution. You find an old game that you've never played, buy that old strategy guide for it, and then go through and play that. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah. I was never a big strategy guide person. I don't know if you guys did you use them a lot or
Not that much.
I used them a lot. Yeah.
I remember I bought one. GameStop really sold the hell out of me on this one. They convinced me it was a good idea, which it weren't. But for Xenosaga Episode 1. But then I was bummed out because then I was just like glued to the strategy guide the whole time. It's like, well, now I feel like I need to look at this because I paid money for it, so I can't just soak in the adventure
That's why
on my own.
I generally kind of avoided them. I just because I liked getting stuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In those type of games. So yeah.
You like getting stuck?
Yeah, I mean within reason. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, buddy. Imran Khan says on the giant bomb extra live stream.
It could be the Prime Minister of Pakistan.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, that's true.
The Prime Minister of Pakistan writes in on the Giant Bomb extra live stream. He's a big Giant Bomb fan.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay.
He said Dan Reichert said, quote, "Ask Jeff Marchiafava how much he enjoyed me farting on his desk all the time," implying that Jeffem would confirm that it is enjoyed by all.
Wait, so Imran sent a question from Dan?
Imran said that on Giant Bomb's extra live, Dan asked
The community?
to ask Jeff Marchiafava how much he enjoyed me farting on his desk.
Yeah, no, I remember I did yell at him once.
Like freak
in the
out,
office.
like snap, yell.
Yeah, like legitimately pissed off because he came back and was just walking through the bullpen and did like one of those like kicked his leg and did a real ass rip while he walked by, and I lost my mind and I yelled at him and was like, "It's not a fucking frat house. Like this is an office. Like you don't do that like a normal person." And he seemed a little embarrassed at that point.
Oh, good. He does know
But
shame
clearly
and-
he didn't learn anything long term from it.
When was that? Was that before my time? I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't remember that.
I
I remember him coming back to your desk and sort of laser focusing on you to mess
Yes.
with you, which you, I'm sure, loved.
Oh yeah.
As Matt Helgeson once put it, trying to break through to Dan about why he can't do what he wants. He said, Game Informer is not Dan Reichert Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Yes.
Tom
But we
Black
all like Dan Riker.
is a good guy, but Tom Blackburn says, "Sup nerds, when is Darth Clark going to come save this dumb show?" We're trying to contract out with Darth Clark to make MinnMax content.
Yeah, he only works about once a year, so it's not good too.
Jeremy McPhail says, "I wanted to comment on the fact that after your first deep dive is for a game about corporate BS. Good on you. I do have a question for you guys, though. I run a high school video game club here in Buffalo, New York, and I was wondering if you guys had any ideas about fun or informative things I could do with the kids. At this point, all we've done is trivia games and a Smash tournament."
What, high school, he said?
Yeah.
Okay.
In Buffalo, New York.
A video game club?
I mean,
know what you do?
The tournaments idea sounds fun. I mean, what are they all Fortniters? Play
Probably.
some Fortnite?
It's hard to do Fortnite tournaments.
Everybody on their phone.
Yeah,
That sucks.
I don't know.
Here's what you do. You play Dreams.
Yeah.
You make a Dreams game together. You spend too much time. Dreams tournament. You spend way too much time going through those tutorials as a group, or at least trying.
And like Minecraft servers and stuff, right? Like where they could all work in one area together.
If they have the computers for it, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it depends on that kind of. He might be looking for more like what can we do with like one, like Smash, it's up to 8 players on one screen. So more co-op experiences, I guess. Competitive co-op.
There it is. Brian W. says, hey, your dumb plan worked. Yesterday in a work meeting, somebody said, then you put in the min to max values. I had to keep myself from yelling out min-max.
2 ends. Did you say 2 ends?
It's working.
Yeah. He whispered 2 ends and said, what's that? Tim Conlon says, hey guys, great to have you back. Hello, thanks for having us back. We're back on the internet. Hey, so when you guys are going through names for MinnMax, I assume Reeves wouldn't sign off when you're using Banana Cabinet? He's just greedy. That is very funny. Of all the names for MinnMax, I did not consider asking Ben Reeves if he could use Banana Cabinet. I was not there for this. Tell the story, please, Jeff.
I wasn't there. That was a long time ago.
Anyway.
No, so what it was is they were coming up with the Game Informer website when they're redesigning the Game Informer website, I guess right before they brought you on board then, Jeff, right?
I think this was like maybe the website before that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Okay, but the idea was that they didn't want to call it GameInformer.com. They were tossing around ideas. Do we call it? I think they said at some point they pitched the idea of being Polygon or something like that, of just like different video game names that you could call this thing. And Ben Reeves, as a joke, suggested Banana Cabinet. And apparently everybody hailed him as an idiot and never let it down.
Yes.
And it was constantly...
For the rest of his life.
Yes. And whenever it was somebody needed an example of like why Reeves needs to shut up, it's like, I don't want any other more Banana Cabinet ideas. And for Ben Reeves, it must be so frustrating. It's like, that was a joke. It's
I think his perspective was like, the website will, be its own thing. It doesn't matter what it's called, right? I remember him sort of making that argument. It's like, because people will find it, they'll associate it with Game Informer. The name doesn't matter. We can call it, I don't know, freaking Banana Cabinet.
Yeah.
But then it became...
Wait, did you literally just suggest we call MinnMax Banana Cabinet?
Is it too late?
You idiot. Why do we give this guy a microphone? Why do you talk so much in meetings? Get out of here.
I'm sorry.
Edgar Vasquez. Who's this guy?
Is he going to cry?
Just reading the name make you tear up?
Yeah.
He just is a fan of brotherly love, I guess.
Yeah. Where's your brother live?
When are you guys planning on doing your Game of the Year discussions? Most sites do theirs in early December, which tend to leave some games out of the discussion. I agree. Maybe
tomorrow.
We'll consider games released in December.
Yeah,
like
probably,
Smash Brothers.
Yeah,
that was released in December of last year.
Right. We'll do probably middle December, I'd imagine, before Christmas. Sure. But probably a tighter turnaround than most sites because I think people want to get those out of the way. But hey, this community is all we got, so let's all skip Christmas for it.
That's right.
We'll give you that present, and we will get your money in return. Is that a gift?
I don't know.
I don't know. Remy Bach, that's a great name, says, are you guys going to be doing a top 100 games of the decade? Because one was released today by an online publication, and it was utterly atrocious. I looked at that. I don't know.
This is Polygon, right?
Yeah.
Beat Saber was on there, so.
Oh, really?
It's like 70 something.
I saw it was like top 5. I think they had Kentucky Route Zero. It's like, all right, hey, that's a choice, baby.
That game's good.
I should go look at that list.
Yeah. Do you know what number 1 was?
That game's not even fully out yet, though. Like
Was it Towerfall? I know Polygon was a big Towerfall.
Minecraft?
Minecraft's number 1, which
it's a good
I can
pick.
get behind.
I think that's a good pick.
Yeah.
It's also like how much, it's something we struggled here at Game Informer. It's like how much do you weigh
there?
At Game Informer, was like how much do you struggle with like we have to have this game on the list that's like super culturally relevant versus like I don't know that any of us would put it on our personal top 10s.
Yeah, that's always a weird question.
I don't know. That's always a thing you have to weigh.
Yeah.
No, I guess we got to figure out how we're going to do that, huh?
Yep. Aiden Hanlon says, I was never able to actually get, quote, ship something nice from the Game Informer show. What were the prizes for winning the old GI best question? I've been dying to know for years. I guess since it's completely done, might as well. Like, it'd be silly to not be transparent.
This is it. You're finally going to learn right now. Let's build it up.
The something real nice that we shipped out was the most recent issue of Game Informer signed by the Game Informer staff.
Boom.
Da-na-na-na. that, and maybe like a sticker or something if we had it lying around.
Every week we all had to sign an issue on Ben Hansen's desk, or I guess we signed a bunch at once, right?
Every month we'd sign like 4 or 5
when we get new
issues
in, I would stockpile it and then ship them out.
If I remember correctly, like that was really easy to pull off, and you didn't have to constantly remind people to come over to your desk to sign issues.
It was a little bit of a hassle, but then it just became unfair to the international audience because so many people would win Question of the Week and be like, well, we can't ship this to South Africa, realistically.
You sold the big board during Extra Life, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It got over 200, I think.
Nice.
Which is awesome. Just the idea that like, oh, that thing costs like $7, and the idea that
Andy was like weirdly frustrated about.
I'm Question of the Week now, and I'm at it again. Every week I win.
Yeah. What was Andy's thing about it? It was just not big enough, right? Like I feel like he would always give you crap for not being big enough.
A cheap dumb thing, but $200 for charity. Where's your cheap dumb thing now?
That's right. Being shipped across the country.
Yeah. All right. Since you're the expert here, Kyle, what's this name again?
Dr. Big 13.
But it's DBRG.
Yeah, I know. On the stream, he was watching me play. We made a joke that I always mispronounce because I get the letters mixed up. So I just started calling him Dr. Big 13. It's a very fun inside joke.
Okay. Dr. Big 13 says, hello, MinnMax crew. Is it selfish of me to say that I've really been enjoying the smaller community that you guys have right now?
No.
Ever since I started watching Kyle streams, I feel that I've made some real friends in the community that I now see chatting on the MinnMax Discord. It's been really cool to have opportunities to talk to you guys a little more directly. I don't have friends that share the same interests as me, so it's great to have such a good community. Keep up the sweet content. Thank you, Dr. Big. No, I love having a smaller, more focused community and actually jumping in there. It's nice to be able to talk to folks. Again, that Discord is overwhelmingly active, but it's great to jump in when I can. It's nice just to have I had a weird moment earlier this week where I was looking at like podcast analytics for the MinnMax show, and then I was like, wait, we have a podcast channel. Like, let me just share the data with everybody. Like, what's the downside of saying, hey, here's exactly how many subscribers we have. Here's what devices they listen to, like listen on. It's like, that's just cool podcast nerdy stuff, right?
The podcast I listen to.
Yeah, so that's nice. Also, Flaming Kesa wrote in Kyle talking about your guys' streams and how much they've enjoyed it, and just that same effect of like getting to know people from that, and it's fun to see that carry forward into the MinnMax Discord. Alexander Silamov says, hello, Minty Maxers.
Is that the second Minty Max?
Wait, that is, isn't it?
I guess that locks it in.
Nope.
Do you have a sound effect?
Nope. Hey,
now the bit is dead.
Now with The Outer Worlds released, what do you think will happen to the Fallout franchises? The Outer Worlds is probably what Fallout should be. They couldn't do a better job with that. In hindsight, Fallout 76 was actually not such a bad idea. Going exactly in the other direction that is focusing on an open world, crafting, building, etc., and less on story is maybe the right move. Just a shame they didn't double down on that game and instead made all the wrong choices. What the hell do you do with the next Fallout?
I think you just, there are things that the Outer Worlds feels like it's missing, like just the aspect of going out and finding some random thing in the middle of nowhere, right? Like,
so just more of an open world?
Yeah, I think that stuff is the stuff that they've been doing, and they could expand in that front. I don't think that they necessarily they made a good one of those. I guess we can't make the thing that we've been making for a while and has made us a ton of money. I don't think they're going to shy away from making a Fallout 5.
But still, I mean, if it's going to be after Elder Scrolls 6, that's going to be end of the next generation, if that, right?
Yeah. Which is when people will be like, oh, right, it's back to the old school Fallout formula again.
I'm sick of Microsoft just drilling Outer Worlds as a franchise into the ground. Yeah, for sure. James Pinto, hello, Mini Maxis.
Minty Maxis.
Nope.
Makes me think of Minty Zaki from Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
That's why I like it.
I've been watching the new Watchmen show on HBO, and I was wondering if you guys have and your thoughts on it. I've heard people complain about the material they cover, but I personally have enjoyed the storyline so far. Maybe it'd make for a good spoiler podcast. Yeah, I agree. I've been busy, but I watched the first episode of that. I was so tickled. Like, it's rare to see a show and just have it really capture your imagination, where even the next day I was just thinking about, like, God, what a bold world they're starting to set up. And again, I just watched the first episode, and I'm going to watch the other ones. But as you know, Kyle, I don't really like watching TV.
I'm aware.
But this one, it's like, okay, I will watch Watchmen. I enjoyed reading the book years ago, and it's so amazing to see a TV show that, at least in the first episode, I love how bold it is and how different it feels, faithful to some of like the big ideas in Watchmen, but at the same time, it's like the least fan servicey version almost they could have made. Like, there's definitely nods, and some larger nods than others, but at the same time, to like take that Watchmen formula or concept or world, I guess, 'cause it's the same world as the book, and then just going in such a different direction with it. And like, well, let's talk about these issues and let's focus on these characters. It's really wild.
And the book or visual novel, I suppose we should say,
yes.
is treated as canon
Yes.
for the show, right?
Yes.
So the ending of the comic is
Yes.
because they changed the ending from the film.
Right.
Okay, that's interesting.
And
It's
you were
also
saying
a graphic novel, by the way.
it's
not
very
visual novel.
graphic.
It's graphic.
It's more graphic than May or whatever in Smash. You were saying
Watchmen is not for the good girls and boys.
You're saying you're a defender of that film too. Watchmen.
Yeah, I think the film's solid. Written by
David
Solid
Hayter.
Snake himself.
Has he commented on the show? I would love to hear his thoughts.
But I think it's Snyder's best movie because he basically just wholesale copied the comic. You know, like
Good job.
and it
Except for
looks
that
great.
ending.
And I actually like the ending of the film. I think it I think it is it kind of accomplishes the same thing with less mud, I guess you could say. Like it's more straight. It's like a more straight line way to get to the same ending. It's not as complicated because I feel like
Right.
the ending, as interesting and weird as the ending of Watchmen is, it's very complicated. And you're like, wait, that's
All
what he
right,
was working
that's
on.
right,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm trying. I don't know if you guys have read it or anything. I don't want to spoil it for
I've
anybody. I
read
know it's-
Watchmen. I haven't seen anything else.
Yeah, the film is solid. I think it's worth watching. Honestly, I was thinking of watching it as a refresher before going back to the show.
that
you
couldn't
know?
hurt actually. I mean, it probably would help in some ways, right? But I always think back to Watchmen, the film and its release, because I loved David Hayter. I love David Hayter in general, but I love that he released this message where he just had this blog post when the movie came out, and he's like, "Hey, I know this might feel like pandering, but I just want to communicate that as a screener for this film, it is wild that we were allowed to make this. This is a bold move, and we did it for the fans. The fans promised they would show up. We need everybody to spread the word right now about this movie. Like, this is a miracle that this was made, and if this isn't a success, then future content in this vein
And there
is
will
not going to
never
happen."
be another superhero movie.
Well, no, but just something as different as Watchmen, right?
Yeah.
And so he's like, please, seriously, just go to the theater more than once if you like the movie.
Yeah.
Like, we need to do everything we can to support this type of thing.
It's a big, bold, R-rated, you
Yeah.
know, like comic book movie. Way before that, Deadpool made that like a very profitable thing.
right.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Also, can't wait to keep playing Solid Snake for the rest of my life.
Peace out.
See you in Metal Gear Solid 5 or 6. I don't know.
Hang on, I have to stop reading this blog. I have to take a phone call. What's this?
Kiefer Sutherland.
Brandon Bird. Do you think that's his real name or is that an homage?
I feel like I know Brandon.
Well,
Bird.
how's Bird spelled? B-Y-R-D?
Yeah.
A skater?
What's that?
No, is that a skater?
I think isn't it like a
You're thinking of
skating
Tony
company?
Hawk.
Oh,
Yeah.
excuse me. Oh, that guy that dresses Larry David for Halloween?
That's right. You can only choose one, says Brandon Bird. The other is erased from existence.
One.
No looking ahead of time, Kyle.
Hey, Jeff.
The Metal Gear Solid 3 ladder climb or the Metal Gear Solid 4 microwave crawl? Which do you choose, making
what?
the other one erased from existence as if it never happened?
Okay. I have my answer ready.
I have my answer.
I have my answer.
Jeff.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
All right, everybody who has an answer, say it on the count of three.
Okay. Wait. Say
Choose the one we're keeping.
The one we're keeping.
1, 2, 3.
Metal Gear
Microwave
Solid
crawl.
4 microwave crawl.
What'd you say?
Ladder.
We had a ladder boy, ladies and
Look at
gentlemen,
that
Mr.
ladder boy.
Ladder.
I think that
gross.
microwave crawl
We went with the former.
is the best part of Metal Gear Solid 4.
I agree. I love
What's
that.
your
You wanna
reason,
have
cereal?
No, obviously microwave cereal.
Have you ever used a ladder before?
While listening to James Bond music?
The ladder is
slow.
cool, and it's something different, but I think just the
microwave
microwave
crawl-
had more of an impact because it
a
was
culmination of
emotional.
the whole series,
The climax,
Serial.
Mei Ling firing the missiles from the battleship. Like, there's so much going on. It's such an awesome climactic moment.
Yeah,
whereas
I don't
the
know.
ladder is just
Come
like,
on,
this is an
Serial.
odd thing.
All right, fine, whatever. you guys can have it. It
doesn't matter.
Unbelievable.
Oh, it says it is erased from existence, and anybody who likes it more than the microwave crawl is erased from existence.
Justice.
Oh no! So
no.
if you want to just go ahead
Write
and
that
clap
swear
out,
down.
we
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Why do you like the ladder, though? Seriously.
Because it's super funny.
Oh, it's
Funny.
It's funny.
Tears streaming down Hanson
I
Knight's
just like
face.
that as a gameplay moment. And it's just like you are.
It was unexpected.
Yeah, the game is having this weird moment where it's messing with you by like, no, this ladder goes on forever, and we're gonna emphasize how long it goes by like having
Playing
this,
a 3-minute song.
Well, like in like one verse at a time every few seconds.
Can you make a microwave hallway in
Dreams?
Death Stranding?
Oh.
No. It's hard to spoil the game, but
you can
Garbage
make a
Town.
huge ladder, though, right?
you could make a pretty large ladder.
There you go.
Hang on. And you can like make speakers in the game that play music, right?
Yes.
Can you import your own music?
No.
On
Okay.
PC, you might be able to.
Maybe.
Because that's what you can do that in 5.
Hello. That's right, because I remember on Idle Thumbs they talked about this, that somebody made it so that, I forget who it was on Idle Thumbs, but they made it so that when the helicopter came in Metal Gear Solid 5 for like the rescue, that it would play the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme.
And that stars the guy that Tony Hawk dressed as for
That's
Halloween.
right. That's right. Travis Lehman writes in, "Hey, Maxinistas, Travis from Las Vegas here. If you could snap your fingers and make microtransactions and loot boxes disappear in an instant, would you?"
I guess, yeah. What's the downside?
I mean, there'd be a lot of games that wouldn't be able to support themselves. I don't.
There we
know.
go. What would the repercussions be? Do you think low-level developers would lose their jobs if you snapped your fingers?
Like, phones would be dead.
yeah,
You know,
the phones would melt in your
Yeah.
pocket.
They say low-level developers, but I feel like, I mean, you have to do some math and figure it out, but I feel like the people that benefit the most from microtransactions are like the big AAA developers. I feel like smaller developers who are successful are making games without microtransactions.
Okay, but what about like the low-level developers working on something like an NBA 2K20?
Oh.
Individual developers.
Like not
I
like
guess I just
small indie developers, like low-level developers.
Seriously,
I
if
see
you
what
snapped your
you're saying.
finger, got rid of all microtransactions, do you feel like
NBA
texture artist number 43 on Madden would get a pay cut?
Well, NBA, was it 2K20?
Yeah.
Is so far the best-selling game of the year, period, right? So
Right.
I'm not too worried about them. Right? Am I being harsh? I think
Yeah,
It's just-
I
it's just so
doubt they're
weird.
like, oh, we got to put these microtransactions into NBA 2K in order to pay our lowest wage.
It's a factor. I think they factored into the overall big salary pie.
I think they just want to take as much money as they can, and it all goes to the people at the top.
So you
Eat the rich.
November 5th was yesterday.
What if all games ended up?
Remember the 5th of November?
Oh.
That's about eating the rich.
What
right?
if all like
No?
games
Okay,
ended
sorry.
up started costing like $100 though?
I don't know. I wouldn't.
Would you snap your fingers? That's the core of the question.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we're pretty lucky. I mean, video games are expensive. It's an expensive hobby, but like that price has maintained for years.
Yeah.
Like we're pretty lucky that games cost.
I mean,
as low
I
as they
feel like
do.
that is in part why we have microtransactions.
Yeah,
It's
that's
because
true.
Yeah.
The core, the
that
base.
line has held so steady,
Yeah.
like, because no one's going to be the people who say like now games are $70.
Yeah. Who's
Kyle, will you snap your fingers or not?
yeah, I think so.
Wow.
I'm the only
That
one.
man had a family.
Wait, are we killing the developers? Are we
The people whose job was to implement microtransactions, if that's like a designated job, which, by the way, can you imagine
Probably.
sitting in for that interview? Yes, I'm very passionate about this role. Melissa Dora says, hello, everybody. Do any of your parents play or used to play games? If they've never played games or don't play them, what would be the one game you'd recommend to them you believe could reel them in? No, my parents do not play games. I got my mom to play Beatles Rock Band once, which was a miracle. But my dad refused to play, and he just was then critiquing my mom on how she was playing guitar on this plastic guitar, and it made me so mad. I'm like, Dad, shut up or step up. Like, play the drums or sing. I don't want to hear you, backseat driving a plastic guitar that you would not know how to hold.
And you were singing at the time, so this was echoing in the game itself.
Yeah, they kept having to do the star power to save me because they kept just screaming at my father.
I mean, similar. It's funny. Similarly, my parents don't play games. I think I got my dad, who is an amazing guitarist, to like try Rock Band once, and he was like, "Oh, this is weird. I don't want to do this anymore."
He hucked a loogie at your TV.
I showed him Red Dead 2 last time he was in town.
Oh,
and
yeah?
he was impressed, but I don't know if he would ever sit down and play it.
But he wouldn't remember
The movement speed is too slow, he said. I hate the mission design. It's too restrictive.
What am I building a house? What is this?
This sequence going on way too long.
It's a great impression of my dad.
Get over here. What about he's like baseball? What if you showed him like RBI baseball? 19.
Dad, I love baseball. There's a lot of great baseball games out here. Let me show you the worst one. Yeah, I don't know. He might be into that.
What?
He's retired. Maybe I should get him a PlayStation.
He wouldn't like that.
Probably not.
He's a sweetheart though. He'd probably go along with some of it.
He'd plug it in.
Yeah. I like this, son. And then you just,
Finally.
My dad is like 8 different characters.
Jimmy Stewart.
he reminds me a little bit of the most boring person on Seinfeld, and I think he'd go a little something like this. Baseball.
Still in the
yeah.
Seinfeld voice.
My dad would play Mario Kart with us sometimes.
Oh, yeah?
I feel like the SNES was like the perfect. Like after that, it got too complicated for any parent. I feel like
For most people.
once it was like 2 joysticks, it was out the window. But he used to play Mario Kart with us every now and then, and my mom would play Tetris, the old like Tetris
I'm so
Dr.
jealous.
Mario. Every now and then she'd be like, "Turn it on for me so I can play Tetris."
Turn me on,
All right.
Jeff. Turn me on.
Yeah.
All right, dude.
Come on.
You son of a. Way to ruin that childhood memory.
My dad plays Candy Crush. I don't know, last time I checked on him, he played quite a bit. And then he has played 1 round of Wii Bowling. That is it.
Really?
As far as I know. Yeah.
Things could have changed.
He said it was like, okay, all right. And then never.
And he
never
put on
again.
his Jimmy Stewart impression.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, thank you, Serial.
Oh, sister looking kid's coming to kill me.
God, that's the best English you've ever spoken.
How much English do your parents speak?
They can speak it. It's just not, they have pretty thick accents, I think. So.
Okay.
Would it be like alarming if you're like eating dinner and then you suddenly switched over to English? Would they be like, "Come on, man,
I mean,
don't do this to us"?
when I talk to my brother, we kind of do that sometimes, and they'll sometimes be like, "Hey, Spanish or whatever,"
or whatever.
but like they'll tell us to speak Spanish or whatever.
Yeah.
But like,
What does that sound like?
what do you mean?
They go like Espanol. They scream.
Basically,
Okay.
not at the top of their lungs,
Right,
But they'll just be like, "Shh, Español."
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's
I like
cute.
the idea of them being just super pissed at their adult children.
Do they sound like the most standard Seinfeld character?
That's right. Yeah.
Putty? I still can't come up with a single Seinfeld character that has like a normal voice.
What's George's girlfriends probably, right? Any of those?
Pretty high pitch.
Yeah.
All of them.
Susan, she's pretty.
Well, I think this is.
I guess.
Do you just think everyone's a weirdo? Is that?
That's kind of the theme of
Yeah.
Seinfeld, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you like in life, you just think everyone's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
about that
I
guy?
can't think of a single normal person because there is no normal person.
Yeah.
What
I'm
is
the only
normal,
normal
really?
It's in the eye of the
There we
beholder.
go.
Oh, look at that.
We just merged.
Did we both quote that Netflix show? Is that where you got that from?
No,
Oh, okay.
I was just saying the obvious thing to say in that
Oh,
moment.
okay.
I don't need a TV show to tell me what to say,
Relax. You're turning into this normal
sorry,
Seinfeld.
sorry.
Edward Bailey says, there are 2 things that divide me and my girlfriend. So if you could each weigh in on these important questions, it would be greatly appreciated.
The wall in our apartment.
And the microwave hallway.
and then there's also that ladder that's way too tall. Neither of us want to climb.
We really like this apartment, but the microwave hallway, is it worth it for the rent?
It's got fiber. I mean, if you can walk over there.
All right. Which is better, apple juice or orange juice?
Orange juice.
Orange juice.
Orange juice. I used to be an apple juice guy, but now I'm an orange juice guy.
You grew up.
That's right.
Yeah. I think orange juice is better, but it also upsets my tummy.
Oh.
And so I always go apple juice. Like on a plane, apple juice is my go-to drink. Isn't that interesting?
We held it in for as long as we could.
And then number 2, pancakes or waffles?
I'm pancakes.
That's a good question.
I'm pancakes.
Waffles.
Sound of you, Jeff.
How can you take a pancake over a waffle?
Well, are we
Right.
talking Lego waffles or homemade actual
Let's
real
say
waffles?
go
Lego?
to middle of the road breakfast place.
Would you rather eat at an IHOP or a Waffle House?
Well, that's
Yeah, I don't know.
But
That's
they both
actually
serve the
yeah.
opposite.
Yeah. That's sorry. That was. I didn't think that through, and I
embarrassed
regret
you
what
said
I've
that.
said.
I'm disgusted.
Yeah.
I'll go waffles,
Yeah,
actually. Because, you know,
waffle.
pancakes, they can get really dry. Even
Yes.
when you
You can just
totally
put more
pour
syrup
'em.
on 'em.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
But what are you
I
supposed to
guess you
do?
could.
Pour syrup with each layer of the flapjack stuff?
Dude, hell yeah.
I just don't like. I don't like crunchy. Like waffles are more crunchy, and I don't really want that in my breakfast. I don't think.
Oh, no flavor, my little
Hey, you're the one that can't drink a glass of orange juice.
Kyle, do you eat cereal?
No, he's right there. Cereal? Yeah. Sorry, that was bad.
And that's crunchy, right?
Yeah, but I
And also,
let it sit for a
every
while.
breakfast food is crunchy.
Maybe, well,
Exactly.
that's why I like pancakes then, because it's different. Let me change my own.
Oh,
argument.
yeah. You're just... wow.
This is how I think now.
How do you take your
tricky
eggs?
dick over here.
Scrambled?
Scrambled. Burned to a crisp scrambled?
No.
No crisp.
Yeah, not quite there.
Okay. Some random guy, I don't know how he got on our Patreon here. He says, hey guys, so I don't know if you've heard, but Kyle Bossman over the Easy Allies seems to be under the impression, this is outrageous, that Pop-Tarts are better than toaster strudels. While I firmly believe toaster strudels are superior. What's your take on the Pop-Tarts versus toaster strudels debate? Look, Easy Allies can do no wrong, in my opinion. This is so wrong, it's confusing. Like, it doesn't track what they're even trying to talk about because toaster strudels are so obviously superior that to have the flip for your fun game about which games you're really looking forward to, it melts my brain. I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
This was some random guy brought this up?
Yes.
Wait, what's the game?
So, yes, thank you, first of all, some random guy for explaining this, because I've been confused about this.
Okay, so they talk about like upcoming games, and you're allowed to choose which one you're not looking forward to and which one you're really, really looking forward to, and you only have like one option, one chip to put on each area. This is a terrible analogy or explanation.
I think you're making it more complicated.
Anyways, the point is they'll be like, hey, Cyberpunk 2077, if you're really looking forward to it, you say, that's my Pop-Tart. And if you're not looking forward, you think it's going to be disappointing, you say that's my toaster strudel because they think toaster strudels are gross. Toaster strudels, it comes with like the cream you put on top. Am I thinking of the right thing? It's like 3,000 times better than any Pop-Tart.
I'm a new Easy Allies listener, and I was extremely confused about this. I did not understand what was happening because I was like, I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, well, clearly toaster strudel is obviously the one that they choose for the better. But then you listen and they're like, I'm not really looking forward to this game. I'm going to give it the superior breakfast pastry. And I'm like, what is happening?
Maybe in California, somehow it's completely the opposite. I don't understand.
Folks, we can solve all this on the first episode of MinnMax.
Hang on.
Which,
That's
by the way,
really good idea.
I think I've had maybe one toaster strudel my entire life.
I don't think I've
had
ever
several
had one.
I love that. I love that
perfect,
idea.
then.
Yeah.
Do they make a s'more strudel?
Probably.
I don't know. Write that down, Cyril. Write that down.
Probably a s'mores Pop-Tart at least, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
By the way,
There's probably
I
some in
think
my house right now.
There are s'mores Pop-Tarts. I've had them before a lot.
This is a very deep
A lot?
cut.
Quite a bit. It's probably the flavor I eat most.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. I get
Water?
those a lot. You okay with this, Jeff?
I guess. Yeah.
Water flavored Pop-Tarts.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's the one I always get. Water.
But this is a very deep cut. But years ago, I made a documentary about some Game Informer guys trying to get the world record for playing Smash Brothers the longest. Smash Brothers Brawl, of course. And I think it was in like the outtakes, which we also posted on YouTube. But in that, and correct me, it was some combination of either Tim Turry or best buddy Dave Clapp. I think it was Dave Clapp said the phrase, the top part of a Pop-Tart. And it will really rock your brain. It's like I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than a frontal lobotomy. It's just a very simple version of that, and it's very good.
The
top part of a Pop-Tart.
That's good. This is the best part of the Pop-Tart.
The top part?
Top part of the Pop-Tart.
Ryan Schaefer says, what's the best pizza in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area? I'm on a journey of discovery. Jeff Markifava.
I'd be curious about your answers.
The floor is yours.
I feel like I'm still exploring those.
When I did the year of the pizza 5 years ago,
It
or
rivaled
whatever,
the year of Luigi.
Yes,
What was this? Was this for the Game
I
Informer site?
tweeted. No, I tweeted every time I ate a pizza though.
Oh, okay.
And I counted it, and it got up to like 86 in a year or something like that.
Hospital
I
visits.
wasn't. Yes, I wasn't married at the time. But at the end,
That message why she married you.
Yes, she was a
She
nurse.
is a pizza.
I decided at the end what my favorite was, and I said Crescent Moon Bakery, which does an Afghani pizza. And I remember I got one message that was very upset about it, and they said just because it's called pizza doesn't make it pizza, because I think he was a little racist.
He thought that it wasn't actual pizza?
Well,
here's the thing.
What
it
is
was
an
just
Afghani
racist.
pizza?
It's just a good pizza. I think,
Yeah.
I don't know the history of it's actually any sort of recipe that comes from Afghanistan or anything, but Crescent Moon Bakery has a couple locations in the cities, but I think it timed up with when the Super Bowl was in Minneapolis, they renamed the entire store the name of the pizza. So now the store is called Football Pizza.
Yeah.
Because the pizza's in the shape of a football.
Yeah,
but
it's kind of a stretched out pizza.
yeah, it's 100% my answer too, especially if you get that spicy sauce with that. You get the green stuff to dip it in.
And the Afghani meat on it.
Oh, this is a layer I've never done. What is Afghani meat?
I don't know what kind of meat it is.
Just 'cause
they
they
just
call it
call it
meat,
they call
But
it
it's like the meat
Afghani
that's in a gyro. right? Isn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah,
No,
it's
it's
like the
like lamb
thinly
or
sliced
something?
lamb, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
really?
very good.
I'll
I've
have
had
to
it
get
before.
that. Yeah, if you're in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Crescent
We've
Moon
gotta go
Bakery
there
/ football pizza.
Dude.
Unbelievable.
This is another thing we can solve in MinnSnacks. We can start a whole
Oh.
pizza series.
Oh,
and
the pizza sub-series.
Find out the best pizza places.
That's a good idea.
Have you reached out to
It's so much
them
potential.
about
Sponsoring the show?
sponsorship?
The football
They
pizza.
should.
Hello.
Yeah, I mean, they'd
football
have to
pizza.
send us several free pizzas for us to,
we
try
gotta
them and be
try
able
the
to talk
product,
about them.
Yeah, and we need to constantly line the studio with pizzas fresh out of the oven, just as heating devices.
Yes.
Let's see. Nick Mantagani says, are there any games, movies, TV shows, etc., that stood out to you for being partially or entirely set in your town, state, region? For example, minor spoilers for Breaking Bad here, but the entire New Hampshire story in the final season was mind-blowing for me and everyone else in the state because we're from New Hampshire. P.S. I've never understood the New Hampshire thing Hanson does, and at this point, I'm not even sure I want to know. Yeah, you probably don't. What stands out to y'all?
I feel like anything set in Minnesota stands out to Minnesotans, right?
Grumpy
There's
Old
like
Men.
Grumpy Old Men, Jingle All the Way,
Rio.
and Fargo, which is the confusing one.
Fargo is,
Yes.
it's the very confusing one because that's technically North Dakota, but so much of the movie Fargo takes place in Minneapolis, and it's weird like seeing, they're driving on 35, I think,
And was it supposed to be Minnesota?
Yeah. Oh, where the cabin is?
Were they calling it Fargo, Minnesota?
No,
as just
no,
like
no,
a
no,
joke,
No,
or-
it's just that the bad folks came from Fargo originally, but everything is taking place
In Minnesota.
Yeah, in Minnesota. And then the show Fargo is funny because I think it's in the second season. There's a moment where they go to Duluth, Minnesota, and they show like skyscrapers there. It's like 'cause they filmed it somewhere else
What are you
entirely, and it's like,
doing?
you
Yeah.
idiots, come on.
What's that show I haven't watched any of it yet, but it's on HBO now with John Goodman and the guy from Workaholics. It's like the diamonds, the sapphires. You guys not know what I'm talking about?
You're thinking of Pokemon.
Oh, yeah, I know. Like where they're
Roseanne? Are you thinking Roseanne?
No, gosh, it's not like
The Precious
I think-
Gemstones.
Yeah, the
Right?
Righteous Gemstones.
The Righteous Gemstones. Yeah, was shot in my college town, and like a friend of mine who still lives there was like they shot scenes from it like in the restaurant that he worked at,
And they
stuff
shot him.
And they shot him.
Shot
I
him
remember
dead.
when
I need to watch that show.
lived in Nebraska, people got really excited about the movie Nebraska.
That's on the movie.
With Will Forte, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was filmed there.
Did you ever watch it?
No.
One of the biggest reactions I've ever heard from a movie was seeing Juno, which takes place in Minnesota, in the town of St. Cloud, Minnesota. Because at a certain point in Juno, they mentioned St. Cloud, Minnesota, and it was like somebody lit the people in the theater on fire. Everyone's like, what? Like, it was screaming. It was pandemonium.
Yeah. I
We
mean,
got to do something for entertainment up here.
Especially in
We'll
St.
take
Cloud.
anything we can get.
We'll yell at whatever they'll show us. I don't care.
they're seeing Inside Out in a Minnesota theater. I
Yeah.
felt like was especially like upsetting because it's about like leaving Minnesota to a certain
And
degree.
missing Minnesota.
And then also in the new Ant-Man, don't they call out Minnesota or Minneapolis or something like that? There's like one line where they're talking about rust getting on the bottom of your car and they say Minneapolis. Or
Oh,
something.
really?
It's very strange. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, we're very excited about that type of thing. I was excited when I saw the name of this company, and I was like, wait, Min's in it with 2 N's. That's very
almost like
exciting.
Every time you check the Patreon, it's like, hey, that's me.
Hey, look at that. Austin M. Jones says, hey, y'all, this is Austin from Cleveland. You may remember me as one of the mini Zune owners that wrote into the Game Informer show. My Zune has unfortunately passed on.
Oh.
I was about to suggest we have a Zune-only meetup at some point, but
We'll send you the address on your Zune. But on that topic, is there any archaic or outmodeled technology that any of you guys still swear by? Anybody still rocking an iPod Shuffle or a flip phone with no internet? Thank you. Great question.
I still use earbuds, which I feel like in this group makes me feel like I'm rocking.
Because you
old
got to go
technology.
wireless.
I don't want to go wireless.
You should go
So
wireless.
good, man.
I've
It's
never had a
amazing.
pair of wireless headphones that were as reliable as a pair of earbuds.
Hanson and I are AirPod boys, and
Yeah.
it's the best decision I've ever made in my life.
I saw something about an
More
AirPod.
than marrying your wife.
Yes, he
Oh,
said
yeah,
it.
that was more important.
Okay,
No,
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 marrying your wife.
No.
Or
Can't take it
over
back.
earbuds.
Yeah.
But she bought them for me. Does that count for anything?
Marriage is like one long microwave hallway.
The best part of Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah.
I would argue that it's more like a Metal Gear Solid 3 ladder.
Church bells rung. I don't know.
What a thrill.
What's about the AirPod Pro? Oh, what are those? I saw that
I
they
don't know.
exist.
They have
but
noise canceling and they have rubber tips. I'm happy with what I have.
tips.
So I guess we have outdated technology with
Oh my
last gen
God.
AirPods at this
Yeah.
point.
There you go. My answer for outdated technology that I still like is books.
Books, you say?
Yeah.
haven't heard of
Books.
Stop using your internet. And
Print
go read a
media.
book.
Back in my day, television was called books. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
You saw it in your mind.
Get a load of this one then, Jeffem. Taylor Owen says, I hear MinnMax is about more than just games.
Is that right?
What?
If so, prove it. Da-da-da-da-da-dun. What's the best book you've read this year?
Oh, I don't-
read Takahiko Inoue's Vagabond, and it's one of my all-time favorites.
Does it have to be from this year?
You had to
you
have
read
read
it
it
this
this year.
Oh, okay. I've read, I'm blanking on the author, but The Invisible Bridge, which is a ridiculously long book where he just kind of chronicles the history of like Reagan and the conservative movement that kind of built up around the time that he was starting to sort of come into prominence as a
What
politician.
led you to that?
I just like reading about like history. I read Nixon Land, which is also by him. This is kind of like the sequel to that, where it kind of picks up where that book left off. So it's like a long series of books about.
We got a smarty pants over
I
here.
like the idea
Yeah.
of a series of history novels being called sequels.
Well, it's like because that one ends when he's
No,
about to
it
be
makes
impeached,
total
and then
sense,
you know
yeah.
this one picks up when he's being impeached. So.
Yeah.
I haven't read any books this year because I'm lame.
Is that true?
I don't think I have. Yeah.
Not even like a strategy guide?
Well, I read a lot of books to my kid.
Oh, okay.
What's the
your
best
favorite?
one? What's the best one you've read to your kid?
I was talking about Howl's Moving Castle with you earlier. That
Oh,
was,
go on.
That was a weird one to read.
Why?
Well, okay. Do you want me to go into it? There's a part. So Howl's Moving Castle book. They made Miyazaki made the animated film based on it, which is very good. But there's a sequence that was not in the film that is in the book where Howl goes through a portal and comes to the real world. And he has family in the real world, and Sophie, who's with him, is just totally blown away by the idea of cars and stuff like that. And Howl goes and visits his nephews, and they're playing video games, and we get to hear a description from the character Sophie of what she thinks this thing is for someone who has never seen a TV or understands what technology is or anything. And then he just goes back to Magic Land. It was very weird.
I like that if Miyazaki seeing that section and be like, snip, snip, snip. Get that the hell out of here.
So that's a cool book.
Yeah. I have been very naughty this year. Where
It was all smut. You've only been reading
I've been
smut.
looking at photos of my
Smut.
all year.
detailed book-length descriptions of my. No, like I really only read one big book this year, but I was blown away by it, and it's the biography of Ulysses S. Grant, Ron Chernow's biography of Grant, and it was so good. It's just like this era of U.S. history that I get it, like Civil War, I get it, but actually walking through that and having such a better understanding of like what Grant was so great at as a military leader and just going step by step through the Civil War was just fascinating. And then there's just small stuff that I have never thought about, right? Where it's like after the Civil War, it's like, okay, we're one country again. And then there's the weird moment of like, so the Southerners can just like join the army and we just hand them a gun and then they stand right next to us? Like, are you guys nuts? There's like these little details I never considered. And I literally was scared. I was reading this during the day and got freaked out the entire chapter on the Lincoln assassination because originally John Wilkes Booth was going to take out Grant as well. That was a whole idea. And so they were at a hotel, I think, in D.C., and Grant was eating with his family, and John Wilkes Booth and like his whole team of weirdos were at a table sitting next to him just to monitor Grant. And they said that they noticed him because they were freaked out because, oh, it's so terrifying. It's one of those, I don't know why. Okay, so John Wilkes Booth, or one of his partners, was just watching them and studying them. And they said he had a bowl of soup and he had a spoonful of soup that he didn't bring all the way up to his mouth. It was just like halfway up to his mouth, and he was just staring at the Grant family as they're eating. And then apparently Lincoln invited the Grant family to come to the play, My American Cousin, that night. But because Mary Todd Lincoln was such a piece of work and everybody hated her, especially Grant's wife, she's like, I cannot spend any time with Mary Todd Lincoln. Like, we cannot go to that play, dude. Like, we gotta get out of here. I would
rather die.
Yes, exactly. And so then they left town, and as they're in the carriage leaving town, John Wilkes Booth rode up on a horse, and they didn't know who this guy was. Like, they recognized him from earlier from the soup.
The soup guy.
Yeah, the soup guy. But he rode up on a horse and was like riding alongside the carriage, and then was like leering into the carriage to see like who all was in there. And they're like, what the hell? Like, this creepy dude. And he's like, and then he went and shot Lincoln in the head. Like, just what a creepy guy. John Wilkes Booth, not good.
Not a fan.
Not a fan.
Cancel that guy.
Yeah. Let's see. Daniel White says, will there ever be another Ben Hansen, Jeff Cork podcast? He types as Girls Not Gray by AFI is playing in the background. Unclear, but I'd be surprised if there wasn't. And that's what MinnMax is made
do
for.
A My Chemical Romance podcast.
I would rather die.
Well, we'd like to announce.
Like Mary Todd Lincoln.
Let's see. Robbie Flanagan says, question is mostly for Kyle, but I'm curious to hear from you all. If you could remake any Legend of Zelda game in the style of another Legend of Zelda game, what would you do?
I thought about this a little bit, and I think, and I don't know if it could be done, but I would like to see like Link to the Past done in like an Ocarina of Time kind of look. Like I guess you could even say like Breath of the Wild if you want, but like just the idea of like not remaking it like Link's Awakening where it's still just a 2D Zelda game, but taking that layout and that world and making it like fully 3D and moving the camera like behind Link. I think that'd be cool. I don't know how doable that is. Like I don't know if they just have to change the puzzle structure of the dungeons like completely, but I think that could be cool.
Yeah, for sure. How you doing on time, Kyle?
I need to leave soonish.
We have a lot to go through. What do you want to do here?
Well, I need to leave. I don't know. I've got maybe like 10 minutes.
We have more than 10 minutes worth of content. Would you want to just duck out?
That's as long as that's okay with you guys. I mean, do you mind if I just duck out for the last bit of the podcast?
I think that's fine.
Okay. Should I just head out now? Are you going to cut here, or do you want me to
I
announce
wasn't
it?
planning on it, but I can cut here.
Well, whatever you want to, dude. Whatever you want to do, man.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome to.
You want me to announce my departure?
Yeah, you're welcome to announce your departure. You guys good?
You guys good?
Yeah.
Great kids to pick up.
Please.
I was going to pick up your kid.
Oh, okay. Well, Jeffrey can go for me.
We can just split it up. Every 30 minutes we come in.
Hey, guys, I'm going to head out because I got to go pick up a child from
Sounds so
daycare.
phony.
Well, what do you want me to say? Just, I'm going to
do you
leave.
need to watch
Just say you don't like us, Kyle.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Do you need to watch this kid all the time?
Yeah, they're not that self-sufficient, or they will be at some point. But
She could survive in a forest at this point.
You know what I'm excited about? I'm excited about listening to the last bit of this podcast as a fan.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Right. Make sure to put a timestamp that says Kyle start listening here.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
The ladder's in the back.
Yeah,
it's real long.
Is it
Please
through
don't
the
forget.
microwave?
Oh, yeah, you're going to have to go through the microwave hall instead of the ladder.
Oh boy.
Love you.
Bye. Tada 2 says, hello, Minnie Mousers.
Kyle?
Whatever.
Kyle, the floor is yours. Serial, did you look into the Pokedex stuff and the leak for Pokemon?
Yeah.
Did I break something?
Hang on. Kyle asked, did he break something? Our hearts?
Would you like to keep interrupting the podcast?
Do you want to come back and talk about Pokemon?
I'm sad Bulbasaur's gone, I guess.
Kyle says he's sad Bulbasaur's gone.
Forever.
And then he made a very offensive imitation. Which
I don't think we can work with this guy.
Kind of a wiggle, a
Showing
jiggle.
me
I
his
don't know.
No, I looked into it a little bit. I'm not super researched, but basically, Pokemon is leaked, and like they showed off all the evolutions for the starters and stuff, which I haven't seen.
I don't want to know anything about that.
But I think most people are saying that according to that leak, it seems like there are only 400 Pokemon out of the potential 800
around there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lame.
And so there was a chart that said like here are all the Pokemon from like most of the other games, and most of them weren't in it, which
like
is
including. Spoiler, I guess, if you care about this type of thing, like Bulbasaur is not in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, honestly, I know I'm going to out myself as not the biggest Pokemon fan by saying this, but I love Pokemon. I'm like, I don't care. Like, the point of playing a new Pokemon game is to use new Pokemon. And I like the idea of...
Or collect all your favorite Pokemon.
I understand that, but what percentage of people are actually collecting every Pokemon ever in each Pokemon game?
I
would say it's a large
wouldn't
part of
either,
it.
but I want Squirtle, damn it.
Is that true?
Yes.
You have hundreds. They have 400 other Pokemon to choose from.
Do you know
can't
how many
get outside of our comfort
Do you know how many
zone?
Squirtles I had in
of them are
Pokemon
Squirtle?
Go? It was just walls, like pages after pages of Squirtles.
I would understand this if there were like the number that are in Pokemon Snap, which is like a disappointingly low number of Pokemon. But 400, we're going to have some interesting decisions to make on who's in our team.
It's like the Thanos snap again.
Yeah.
That's basically what it was. Like I'm
Thanos.
definitely like I can feel the disappointment from
Thanos.
people because it definitely even when I heard about Dex stuff, it definitely felt like it's like 200 Pokemon, whatever. Like the fact that it's even more than that seems like pretty major.
Yeah.
I feel like surprisingly lucky in that most of like my favorite Gen 1 Pokemon are still in it. Like Ghastly and Arcanine are still in it.
Hell yeah.
Charizard is like the one of those three because of course they made a fourth Charizard or whatever at this point, right?
Birthed him out of a tube.
Yeah. But like even then I think I would like when I played Sun and Moon, I think Growlithe was like the only Pokemon from Gen 1 that I kept. Like everything else was like fairly new if I remember correctly. Maybe Politoed. I think I had one of those. But I guess I don't mind using a bunch of new Pokemon, but the more of this gets out, the more I'm just like, I understand if you're bummed for sure.
Yeah.
Like I'm the kind of person who isn't going to be super impacted by this, but if the whole point of that series is to collect as many Pokemon as possible, and they're giving you less Pokemon to collect, like even if it's like a huge horse issue for them, like I can totally see why people would be disappointed.
A horse issue?
Workhorse. Like of the fact that they have to put so much effort into animating them or whatever it is that they said. Like it seems like, I totally understand the sentiment.
Yeah. You're right. You're much more reasonable.
Yeah.
I understand it. It's just it doesn't bum me out.
Personally, I'm
about
not
that
super
game.
affected by it.
No.
Because I'll just pick whatever new Pokemon they have. But
Yeah. Siraj says, "Hey, MinnMaxers, this is Siraj from Houston. Hello. Been listening since episode 0. Congratulations.
All right.
I used to work as a Japanese translator at a certain notorious airline company that starts with a U. Before getting that job, I used to watch conferences like the 2017 Switch reveal and the like and complain about how bad the translations were while not really knowing how hard live translation was until I had to do it myself. My question is, do you guys have any interesting memories with any translators that you've worked with throughout your careers?" They're all saints, especially when you're trying to do a jokey video like a rapid fire or something, that they have to translate jokes is just... It melts some of their brains, but the ones that can do it well, it's just awe-inspiring. It is like literally a superpower when you go to another country and you have a translator you have to just look for all support. And so they're heroes. They're the real heroes out there.
Yeah.
That's right.
I remember that time we went on the Sekiro cover story, and we went to dinner with a bunch of Japanese developers and the translator, and he did so much work that conversation.
Yeah.
that entire dinner.
And it's supposed to be him just relaxing, and instead it's like, I cannot turn my brain off, and also I can't eat my dinner because otherwise it is awkward silence or some fun game of charades with these developers.
Yeah, he's the bottleneck.
Yeah.
Everything has to go through.
On this last Pokemon trip, David is an amazing translator. If you've seen any E3 presentations or interviews with the Pokemon devs, you probably have seen this bald David guy in the background, shaved head, I should say. And he's incredible. And I love that I was kissing his ass about what a good translator he was, as far as I could tell, on that Pokemon trip. And then somebody brought up like how amazing he is, that like even in the translation community, it's like he is well regarded, even like from Nintendo. And I was like, oh, that Pokemon translator is great because Pokemon Company is a separate entity. And they specifically point out that at E3 2016, there was the Pokemon Go panel where they had the president of the Pokemon Company, Miyamoto. Obviously, they had folks from Game Freak there. So there's probably like 8 different developers. Most of them only spoke Japanese, and they had to conduct this panel, and he was the only translator. And so he was translating everybody's answers, but then also all the English into Japanese all at the same time. It was all going through him. And somebody brought it up on that Pokemon trip because it's rare that somebody will comment on the translation. But I went back and checked it just today, and it's true that there are so many comments on that video of people who speak Japanese just going holy God, that translator. I've never seen somebody work that fast and be that accurate and good.
He's like one of the people that can see the future in Minority Report, where it's just all streams through him.
Yes, it really is. Yeah, it's wild. Let's see. Oh, Grizzled Gaming says, you can file this under the getting better category. I know that Serial has lost a lot of weight, but I didn't realize how much until I recently saw an older video he was in. I was hoping he'd be willing to talk a little bit about it. Like how much he lost, how long it took him.
Like it's been ongoing for a while, like since even before, like I was in the middle of that loss during that first video even.
I'm sorry for your loss, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. I cherish it. I don't know. What exactly did you want to know?
How and why?
How'd you do it?
I just mostly for a long time I was on keto, and then I basically just because the thing that I wanted to build up when I was on keto is just like having a habit of like eating like healthier foods more regularly and just like not having like the temptation to eat, a bunch of fast food and stuff. And then the biggest thing I did was move here. Like that definitely helped because, when you're in charge of like, what am I going to put in my environment? You start thinking a lot more about like, oh, the reason I don't actually like, I'm not usually all that hungry that much. It's just like food happens to be around.
Yeah.
And so like, I just made a concerted effort to not have like a ton of like snacks and stuff. And it's like, I'm only.
So you're desperate to try and get away from snacks.
Right, like that is
perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you for supporting our Patreon.
Yeah. But like, I mean, even with that though, like I made it. It's not like I stopped eating like snacks or like sugar all entirely.
That's the thing, because like you go out to eat on work trips or whatever, and like you're stuffing your face, you're getting whatever.
Well, like, but I do like that. I make the exception of like if I'm gonna go get something that is like ice cream or something, I want it to be an excursion. I don't want to have it readily accessible.
But okay, so I mean, you've lost. What's the total here?
So like the most I've ever weighed was like 350, and then now I'm at like 190.
That's insane.
So, but like that was over the course of several years. Like that wasn't like a thing that happened since I got here.
Do you? And this sounds naive, but you know what? It's worth asking. Walking around and hauling 350 pounds, that's impossible. If I put 350 pounds on Jeffem right now, he would snap like a baby little twig. So, do you find like it's just much easier to walk around, or does the body adjust to the point where when you weighed 350, you were actually pretty strong just to haul around 350?
I don't know, because like I remember there was like a time when we were like, oh yeah, we're going to calculate like joules or whatever, the force of like, you're supposed to calculate how much force or momentum or whatever like you're doing as you're running or something, and it's like, oh yeah, you got to calculate or like whatever we were doing like E equals MC squared or something, or whatever the force like for torque or whatever it is that you calculate when you're in motion.
Okay.
But
like, running at the speed of light? Is that what I'm
saying?
Right. Okay.
No, but just like calculate basically your weight times your mass or whatever, and like your speed, and see how much force is behind your regular run speed. And I had like the highest because I weighed like 300 pounds. So like, so there was a part of me that was like, I'm exerting way more effort to move the same amount of distance. So am I stronger than people? And I don't know that I've necessarily felt that now that I've lost a bunch of weight, but like running became a lot easier over the course of like months that I did.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, well, part of it is like I built that muscle up, right? But also like, I think having less weight to run with makes it easier to run.
Is it harder than people think or easier than people think to lose a lot of weight?
I think it's probably the hardest thing I've ever done, for sure. Yeah. Like it like I said, it wasn't a thing that happened while I was like, it took me years to figure out how to actually properly do it. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, it is a combination of like eating right and having and exercising regularly, but which is simple, but it is like doing that consistently. Right.
What's the greatest advantage of losing all that weight? Like, what's the thing that stands out to you? Is it just like weird things like, oh,
I mean, a lot of it is self-esteem. A lot of it is like just realizing that you can be like fitting in. Like, honestly, like 2XL was like my goal when I started, because like that's when like you don't get into the like the big and tall brands.
So you were in the big and tall section before?
Yeah, for a while. Like and I saw like, oh, here's a cool thing on Threadless or something, or like here's a cool T-shirt that I want to get. They don't have it in a size larger than 2XL, so I want to get to 2XL. Yeah. Then you find out 2XL is meaningless in a lot of ways because different companies have different sizes.
Sure.
So
that's
and then
really
after
cool
that,
of them.
yeah. And like also part of it is like realizing that it won't. It's not like a thing that will make you happy. Like my self-esteem did improve, but a lot of it is like, why am I like so upset at myself? Is like weight is only part of it, and so the other thing was like developing healthy habits, but also realizing that that is not the only issue that you have, and so starting to work on other stuff like mental issues and stuff like that. So that has been helpful in terms of figuring out how to improve myself as a whole.
Yeah. What do you think when you go back and see an older video of yourself?
It is a little weird because like part of me is a little like I bought into the idea that like, oh, you have to be thin to really feel good about yourself. Like I don't want people for this to take away and say like, hey, if you're overweight, like you should feel bad about yourself.
Right.
So that's the thing that I kind of struggled with is like, am I perpetuating that idea?
Yeah.
By like losing a ton of weight. And because when I told myself like, yeah, a lot of it is because I want to feel healthy. I don't want to like breathe heavily like most of the time, which I did when I was like 350. But like I also want people to feel comfortable in their bodies, and a part of it was like meeting myself halfway of saying like, yeah, I'm going to lose weight, but also I want to take steps to feel better about myself as a person. So like I struggle with a little bit of that because I remember a while ago I listened to that This American Life episode where they talked a lot about weight loss, and there was the story of the person who lost a whole ton of weight and then realized that they were happier before they lost weight because they weren't as self-conscious about it and weren't thinking about it. So I will say that I think about like weight and how to like what should I eat when or whatever like more than I do now, and it feels like it is taking up more of my brain space than it has before. So that's the thing that I've kind of internalized a little bit that I kind of want to wean myself off of just like yeah, like not having snacks around the house and like being more regular about my diet, but like also realizing like at some point like like just eat whatever, like not eat whatever whenever you want, but like if you see something that is like if you're out, just like have another beer or something. Like it's not the end of the world if you have like an extra beer while you're hanging out.
Well, you're doing it right like 90% of the time.
Right,
so,
exactly. It's just doing it right enough that the trend is downward when it comes to losing weight.
Yeah, somebody once said the idea of like you're not making or breaking losing weight by the course of one day, by being really good one day or being really bad one day and just eating a ton of food. It's a habit thing. You ready for a doozy here? Thank you for sharing, by the way, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Joe Juba wrote in.
Oh, that guy?
And said, hey guys, if you think it would make the show better, I have a game for you. Who wants to kiss me? He says, I've provided each one of you with 3 possible headlines for an actual article you published at Game Informer back in, for some reason, the year 2016.
You probably should have been here for this one, but okay.
Yeah. Can you tell me which one is the correct final headline and which ones are made up?
Okay.
Jeffem.
No, I can't.
The headline for your Bravely Second review. Is it A Grind of a Different Color, Saving the World Again and Again, or That Familiar Feeling?
God, this is
Bravely
impossible.
Second
God,
review.
that feels like something, and that's only like 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I have no idea. A Grind of a Different Color. What were
Saving the World Again and Again, or That Familiar Feeling?
I feel like That Familiar Feeling is like the worst one, but also like because of the context of the question, it makes me want to pick that one, not knowing the actual answer.
Is he sure this was my review?
This is your review. Because Joe Juba was kind enough to not include the correct answer, so I had to go back and look at all these to actually find what the right answer was. Your life will not hinge on this answer.
I guess I'll say it should be A Grind of a Different Color.
It is A Grind of a Different Color.
I was smart back then,
Way
too.
to go.
All right.
Surreal, your review for, the biggest review for 2016. Here They Lie. Is it Undead on Arrival, A Surreal Nightmare, or Scary for the Wrong Reasons?
I think I do remember. I think it is A Surreal Nightmare.
It's a Surreal Nightmare. Way to go, Surreal.
Because it sounds like surreal?
Yep.
Is that...
Yeah, you always kept slipping in plugs for your
self-promotion,
name.
For my name, yeah.
This one stumped me. Ben Hansen's Game Informer show excerpt on YouTube.
Oh, I'm glad that it came up for something for you too.
Is it Why Horizon Zero Dawn is so exciting? Why Prey is so exciting? Or why Breath of the Wild is so exciting?
Is it all of the above?
That'd be really funny. No, I had no idea. I had to Google these one by one.
I'm going to say, so now we're guessing on yours?
Yes.
Horizon?
It was Why Horizon Zero Dawn is so exciting. What a bad name for a YouTube excerpt.
Knowing you, I would, Breath of the Wild would have been why Breath of the Wild is a 10 out of 10.
Well, sure, but I think this is from the cover story impressions.
Oh, okay.
I think that's why he chose those 3.
Oh, I see.
Anyways, good times. Thanks, Joe. Dakota Salmarillion says, hey, everyone. Now that tabletop gaming will be included in the content, thanks to everybody donating at patreon.com/MinnMax, what's everyone's favorite game? I've heard that Hansen definitely enjoys Avalon, but is it number one? Contrary to what you heard on the Game Informer show, Avalon is not my favorite tabletop game anymore.
What is your favorite?
It was for a long time. Like, I loved Avalon. I still love Avalon. Then, for a while, it shifted and was Codenames. Okay. Then this year, I went hot and heavy with Betrayal, The House on the Hill, and I was like, yeah, this is my favorite game. This is about everything I love. Then for a while, it was Azul. I was like, this is great.
So basically, whatever you played last.
But I think now, a little bit. But I think going through everything, I think realistically the best tabletop game, I think it's Codenames. I think that is just one of the smartest designs you could ever come up with for a group game.
Yeah.
Jeff, what's your number one?
That is an impossible question. And I had to look through, because a lot of games I've only played once or twice, and so it feels weird to call it out as the best one. So this is slightly random, but I would say at this point I'm going to go with Camel Up.
Camel Up?
Yes, which is kind of this lighter racing game where you're betting on camels as they go around, and it's just the camels stack on each other, which is so the who's ahead in the race is changing all the time, and it's family weight, or a game that you can play with a lot of people. It plays a lot of people in a relatively short amount of time. And even little kids can play it, and there's just a lot of excitement from turn to turn where it's where things are changing. You're betting, and then immediately your bet's way off, and so it's just a very smart design too as well. So
I want to check it out for sure.
Were you there when we played that one game that sounds very similar, but was like based on F1 racers?
Downforce?
Yeah. Is that similar?
A little bit. Like that one, I think there's a little more strategy in it. It's not, like literally a camel can go from last place to first place in a single turn. And so that one's a little kind of wackier, but kind of a similar thing. Yeah. Where you're trying to bet on different cars.
I've been meaning to ask you, a long time ago on Letterman, there's this clip I saw once where he had like a posture expert on. And she was looking at his posture, and she goes, have you ever had the hump of a camel? And he goes, I don't know about that, but in college I was pretty good. Is that a good joke? Or?
I guess.
Okay. All right. Cyril, do you have a number one favorite?
That's a Letterman joke. Let's say that.
I think, I'd probably have to go with Codenames as well. Just because Avalon, the more you play it, the more nervous it is to start playing, because it's like it's gonna be a whole I can see the tragedy coming of like someone being mad at each other and people being like, I was telling you the whole time. So it's like it's not a game that I'm always in the mood for, but
it is amazing, like playing it with every intern group that went through Game Informer. Like I'd say it's genuinely bad vibes 40% of the time, were people leaving at the end of the night where it's like, well, I love it, man. That's the game.
Like people hate each other, just being just like having this general sense of frustration. But I was not any part of like people being like legitimately pissed at each other from what I remember. But some of those are like, man, God, I could have done something.
Yeah. When I first started getting into tabletop games and playing with my wife, I bought a lot of those kind of hidden role and hidden traitor games, not realizing that not everyone is into that, and having you lie to your face, and especially not my wife.
It's hard on relationships for sure.
So I switched some games, but I still enjoy those.
I love, one of my favorite things for playing so much Avalon is with couples. It's just like, it feels like a cheat code in Avalon, because I won't see anything, but just like, when the couple's like, nope, this is even another, like, nope, no good, they're lying. It's like, what? Are you sure? Absolutely. And if I know I can trust that person, it's like, okay, thank you for revealing this. Because, like, I know when I've played with a girlfriend, it's always just like, oh my God, this is going to be impossible. Please don't tell anybody that you can clearly see that I'm lying right now. It's just amazing how you have that extra insight. Alexander Dunbar says, would you guys ever consider doing a D&D campaign stream? I think since you no longer are associated with Game Informer, you can now branch out into more than just video games. Yeah, we can. I saw somebody say like, hey, save D&D for like $100 tier and keep it this exclusive thing, where it's like, I don't know. I wouldn't rule it out. When's the last time you played D&D?
No, not for a super long time. I've only played a couple games in my life, and I would be into that. I think that would be super fun, but we would have to get someone who would know how to be a dungeon master.
If we were going to do something like that, I wouldn't want it to just be us messing around. I'd want someone who knew what they were doing.
We have to get Miller.
Yeah.
I mean,
Miller would be great. Yeah, I'm playing right now, and my friend's the DM, but it's his first time being the DM, and he's just overwhelmed by the amount of work it is. Where it's like, it's fun, but holy God, is it a lot of work. So not being able to do that myself, it seems like a tall order to be like, hey, can we live stream you being the DM and probably having only D&D nerds who are really going to critique everything you're doing, watching it, and then also put in, 20 hours of work a week just to build this campaign. Like, it's a lot to ask, but yes, obviously that'd be a dream come true if we eventually did that. I think it'd be super fun.
I think that's why none of us would feel comfortable being the DM on it. You would have to have experience, but if we could find someone who would be into that too.
For sure. Also, I just don't really like fantasy stuff. Like, it's fine. But it was, I think last time I was playing D&D, I was like, oh, what universe would I be most into? And it's like a Jurassic Park D&D campaign. Like, you kidding me? Like, that would be a dream come true.
What would that be, though?
It's just the same thing. You're just in the Jurassic Park world on the island,
You're
different
just
roles
fighting
and stuff.
Dinosaurs?
You're doing whatever you want to do. Yeah. Oh, you're trying to get off the island, right?
Okay. I'm sure someone has probably made that.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Millions of people have played it probably at this point, right? Just I've never seen it, but being new to the world of D&D, that was just
that is
an
a
epiphany.
taller order to find someone who's willing to be a DM and be like, by the way, you have to do our Jurassic Park fantasy now. Good luck with that.
And do the dinosaur roars.
Yes.
The licensed dinosaur roars. I want them to come out of your mouth.
They have to sound accurate.
Yeah.
What if you just did like a really long campaign of Monopoly, but it was like we used Monopoly as the base, but it was like a whole D&D campaign where everyone was like, I'm embezzling here and I'm like trying to, like, if we just complicated the rules of Monopoly even more. Or if we could just play Sorry and have it be from a...
Oh, the Sorry universe?
Yeah, that Sorry universe.
Was it? I think it was in the Extra Life stream. Somebody just, I think it was probably Reeves, was joking around about how Go Fish was a sequel to the game Go. Just the idea that they're in the same universe of tabletop games. It's just such a funny idea. It's like the idea that Go really jumped the shark when they created Go Fish as a variant.
Go what? Go what?
Wes Bates says, hello, MinnMax crew. Here's a fun game I call Notable Quotables. See if you can guess the game character from the following quotes. The first three are a bit tough. The final quote is a softball. If you can't get it from the first ones, enjoy. This is Wes Bates. Are you ready?
Ready.
Oh, boy.
Ready?
Kyle, we need you to buzz in with your name.
Kyle?
Kyle! Daughter, get in! My Jetsons car is running out of gas. All right. Don't even try, Jeff, for this one. Serial, this is for you.
Okay.
Man, you guys are the best, stupidest group I could ask for. Character quotes from a game, all the same character. Well, everybody wears a mask deep within their heart. At the very least, I'm more admirable than some carnal blonde monkey.
Is this like some Persona crap?
Yeah, that's sort of where I was going. I was thinking...
Don't call me a cat.
Oh, it's Morgana.
There we go, from Persona 5.
Oh, we got to get the character?
Yep.
I was going to guess Ryuji until you said the cat thing.
Also, hey, we love games around here. If you ever call it Persona crap again, I will tackle you across this table.
I've tried.
Okay.
I actually reviewed one of the Persona games.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
It was on Vita.
Oh, Golden?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a remake of one of them. Persona 3 remake.
Oh,
Might have been
really?
Persona 3 Portable.
Huh.
Maybe it was PSP.
Was the color scheme blue or yellow?
Get out of here. I enjoyed it, is the long and short of it. I didn't get into Persona 5.
From the terms of affection you use for the series.
I should not have said Persona crap.
You're fine. Hey, I'll have to bleep that out. No, I say crap all the time. It's fine what you said. It's fine. I wouldn't have used that word choice, but it's fine what you said.
I don't know what's going on anymore. I do like the cat, too.
He
okay?
doesn't think it's
I like
fine.
the cat.
He's going to resent you forever. This relationship is falling apart.
Fate is another lie told by the gods. Nothing is written that cannot be unwritten.
Oh, gosh, I feel like I know this.
The cycle ends here. We must be better than this.
Oh, it's
That's an Overwatch
Kratos.
character, right?
There we go. Kratos from God of War. Sit down before you fall down, Jeff.
He's an Overwatch character, though.
That God of War crap, boy.
I actually read one of those God of War games. I think it's on PSP.
He who controls the battlefield controls history. I'm just a man who's good at what he does. Killing. Jeff, don't try. All right, Surreal.
I like this game where I wasn't allowed to participate in most of it.
I'm going to flip these because I think one's more recognizable. I'm no hero. Never was, never will be.
Is it Solid Snake?
It's Solid Snake. There we go.
I was trying to determine whether it was Big Boss or Solid Snake.
Yep. Tough quiz. So, you want a piece of me? Literally? Okay, bro. Come and get it if you can. Flock off, Featherface, or you can stick around and find out the hard way.
Is this like Kazooie from Banjo-Kazooie? I don't know.
It's very telling that's your guess. I should have saved you. I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light. Let's rock, baby.
Oh, is it Dante?
There we go. Killing it, Surreal. Ooh, this is tricky. I don't know if you'll get this one.
Oh, great.
I don't know
I'll
if it's...
see myself out.
I still
Is
both...
Jeff allowed to play this round?
Yeah. Ooh, actually, this is just Jeffem. Because I don't think... Well, no, you can play too, Surreal, but I don't think you finished it. Hee. Nothing beats the sweet music of hundreds of voices screaming in unison. Hee. Keep in mind. Self-control is something for which I do not strive. Son of a submariner, they'll pay for this. Life, dreams, hope, where do they come from? Where do they go? Such meaningless things, I'll destroy them all.
Is this Kefka?
Wow! Surreal! Vasquez, killing it. All right.
Why would you think I would know that?
You haven't played Final Fantasy VI?
No, I
You're
haven't
a
played
big-
Final Fantasy VI.
I know you didn't finish it, right?
No, I didn't finish it. I don't think I even met Kefka.
Oh,
But
wow.
I think when you made that hee,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, he seems to be somewhat.
Did you
familiar
forget the part when I said I've never played any Final Fantasy
You're like
games?
number one Super Nintendo boy. All right. You know,
Congratulations.
all that ever mattered to me was loyalty. It was all I knew. It was all I ever believed in. Just do one thing or the other. Don't try to be two people at once. It's very hard to keep this vanilla. We're thieves in a world that don't want us no more.
Is that Arthur Morgan?
There we go, Arthur Morgan. Killing it. Yeah, good luck, pal. That's almost impossible to... Oh, you did it. Nice. Curious if you could get it from that.
I remember. I very vaguely remember, but the character's not coming to me.
Oh no, it's not that bad. Look, I have my own bucket. Great. Power's out and a girl's trapped. I swear to God, if there's a zombie around the next corner... And the last one... No.
I have no idea what the hell
Is
you're
it
doing.
Peter Parker from Spider-Man?
No. Close.
I thought
What if I reframe
Spider-Man
it?
was the first one that I thought.
What if I frame it to... No.
Shia LaBeouf?
Close.
No, Nathan Drake.
Nathan Drake. There we go. Very good. Hey, thanks to everybody that left a comment on our post at patreon.com/MinnMax. 2 wins. We appreciate it. I think these community email segments are going to be really long.
This is going to be
This
the
much
whole
feedback?
podcast.
What are we
yeah.
at in terms of recording?
We're at computer frozen.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Are you ready for this? Oh, I'm reading this like it's another quote. I'm like, get a load of this. What kind of quotes? No, that's the name of the segment. All right, ready for closing out the show with get a load of this.
Yeah.
Something that stuck out
Is this
to
actually
us.
broken?
I'll fix it. Something that stood out to us throughout the week. something that we just can't let go of that we wanted to share with everybody. Suriel, what stood out to you?
This is maybe not as timely as the last one, but so recently there was a Halloween wrestling event by the company AEW. And
Is that the Japanese one?
I think so. But it was a Halloween event, and Kenny Omega, who you might know is a pretty famous wrestler, decided to dress up for the occasion. And I'm just going to play the audio. See if it works. This was like his entrance into the ring. So there's a lot of drama about like, this is part of the wrestling storyline of them trying to lure him into the group of the bad guys.
This sounds great.
Something about someone dying, his friend. Hold on, I don't know how long this goes, but well, this intro part, it shouldn't take too long.
You want to hold the phone up like this?
Like this?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and they're trying to lure him over to his side. So it's playing some very familiar music. Hold on.
Some Metroid Prime music? Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's him pretending to be the character, and he's like, "Do you mind if I tag in?" And so they played the Megalovania theme in this huge arena
from Undertale.
But my favorite part is the announcing. Is the announcer having to
Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, weighing 215 pounds, is el mega campeón de Playa, Kenny.
He's like,
Kenny Omega. Halloween starting early for him as he calls on the power of sand from Undertale.
Wow. Hey, I think there's a bunch of dorks out there in the world.
I think we can read a lot into that video. How emblematic.
that was a fun thing to see online.
It is
and
fun.
everybody lost their crap over it.
Yeah. And he's like a huge, because he named himself after Omega Weapon.
Yeah.
I think of Final Fantasy, right? Yeah. Very exciting. Jeff, get a load of what?
Mine is something I'll never unsee.
Please.
Which was a tweet with pictures of poor Ben Reeves. Well, first it was Leo shaving a hole in Ben Reeves' hair.
Yeah.
Which was
a pit.
Funny, yes. Yeah. But little did I know it was actually a bowl that Leo then filled with bugs and ate bugs out of Reeves's hair bowl.
Like he was
head
bobbing for apples.
Yes.
For charity.
For charity. I don't know. It was like something Jigsaw would dream up that they did to poor Leo.
This is for Extra Life. We capped it off. Somebody donated, was it $1,500 or $1,700?
I hope so.
To charity to create the Bug Bowl, which was just incredible because like I think I said it on a whim of just like, it'd be fun if you combine these things and ate bugs out of someone's hair. And then Leo had
they
to
dreamt
do
it up. Yep. And then they had to problem solve that on the fly, figure out how to work that logistically.
My favorite bit of that is I tweeted out those pictures and Matt Helgeson responded to that and just said, Jesus Christ.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought when I saw it too. It was like, oh my God. It got weird and dark.
It's so f***ed up. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, that is the thrill of Extra Life, is just inventing something on the spot. And then I think as Joe said it, like, it's rare that we're really pushing for something like a hair pie that's really effed up, or licking gravy off a floor covered in hair, which is really effed up, or the Bug Bowl is really effed up, and the community hasn't pulled through and donated to make it happen. Like, it's just incredible that every time it's like, yep.
Yes.
Well, here's the most effed up thing we can imagine. It has to happen.
Yeah. Or making Joe eat clamdy canes all night.
Did you see the clam pie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Filling a pie with clams and
Yes.
throwing it
Which
at
was
his
all very
face.
good because Joe was asking for it for like
he was being,
how many ever hours. Yes.
To be
the whole
fair.
time he was like, I'm never going to get my comeuppance.
Right.
And it was all very funny until Calamity Kane after Calamity Kane came in. And he hit that point where he's like, oh, God, I can't do it
It was
anymore.
amazing. Yeah, for me, hey, get a load of
Hold on,
this.
Kyle.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
He's coming.
Get a load of this. Musicals are good. As a kid, I would watch Little Shop of Horrors, and I always loved that. And then
That
it wasn't
explains
until
so much.
Yeah, I loved it. But it wasn't until like the last 7 years of my life where it's like, oh yeah, these things called musicals. It turns out they're popular for a reason. It's like I love Disney movies growing up, I guess, but I've never connected it to actually seeing live performances. But obviously, Hamilton was a game changer. Some would argue it's the greatest work of art of all time.
You're talking about Brian Shea singing the Frozen song, right?
That's right. That is peak musical. No, so a couple tips with this. Recently, my girlfriend signed up for us to be ushers at a smallish theater in Minneapolis. And it was great because the tickets are only like $75, but you like scan tickets at the entrance, which I did for one night, and I got to see the performance for free. And it was Chicago. Seeing Chicago in Northeast Minneapolis was really exciting because I had never seen it before. I'd seen like bits and pieces, I think, from some sequences on YouTube ahead of time, but it was all disconnected. But awesome show, did an awesome job. And the thing that I can't stop thinking about is, the last time I watched Little Shop of Horrors, the Skid Row song just worked its way into my brain, and I listened to it 3,000 times. Chicago, the song Press Conference Rag, but you can find a better, longer version of it if you just search on YouTube for We Both Reached for the Gun. This song is incredible, and seeing the version from the movie is solid. And I remember seeing that before and thinking, that's a really cool musical sequence. Then seeing it live, and it blew my mind, and then went back and watched the version from the movie again. It's like, it's still cool, but not nearly as cool as it is actually seeing it live. But it's like this press conference where a lawyer, the whole premise is like he's speaking for his client, and so they just mime it like she's a dummy and he's speaking for her. But just like physically, it's amazing. The song's amazing. It speeds up, slows down. So that's it. My get a load of this is just a reminder. Look on YouTube for Chicago's We Both Reached for the Gun as a song, because it's just some of the most fun you can have. And even just, this is so dumb, and I promise I wasn't high at this theater, but just like seeing a musical like that, it's just insane, because like we're just sitting in a room, and it just so happens that these 24 people on stage are perfectly synchronized and singing this thing. Like, this was an invention from human beings. This doesn't have to happen. It's just a room, and these people are a machine built for beauty. It's incredible. Musicals, run, don't walk to your nearest theater, ladies and gentlemen.
I think he was high.
Get ready. Yes, clearly. Get ready for the MinnMax musical.
That's right. We already did that at Game Informer. We got it all. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. I'm sorry it was long for the MinnMax show. Let's see. Coming up next week, reminder, we have the second chapter for the Deepest Dive Game Club. We have our group stream on Tuesday for $20 supporters. We have the MinnFax Q&A on Monday. It's really fun to do. And then we put the audio up in the exclusive audio feed after that. So if you don't support us, consider checking us out on Patreon. I think it's fun to get in that Discord and talk to folks and all that fun jazz. That's it. Anybody else have anything else to say?
Kyle?
Great.
Beautiful.
Until next time, be good, have fun. Let's go.